Jiang Wu's smile widened, but his face suddenly sank. I just said once. What's the intention of Princess Yu's sending you to invite me to Qinghuan Pavilion? What's the relationship between her and the Lord of Qinghuan Pavilion? Today's event is clearly that Mo Shanghua deliberately set up the situation, and the bold place is set up in Qinghuan Pavilion. It's all right to make a little fuss, but isn't that place where people dare to make a fool of themselves? If it doesn't matter, he doesn't believe it. I'm just a servant. I can't understand your words. Qin Yaqiang's calm cheek cracked a little flustered, still biting his teeth to open his mouth. Jiang Wu glanced at the steward who had just stood aside. There was a cruel color in his eyes. The steward immediately came over, took out a dagger, and put it across Qinya's neck. "Girl, the sword doesn't have eyes. You'd better cooperate well," said dagger toward her delicate neck, close to an inch. Cold dagger immediately pasted on her neck skin. The palm of Qinya's hand suddenly pinched tightly, and her body trembled slightly, as if she was afraid to the extreme. "Girl, think for yourself. Which is more important, your life or this matter?" The manager's voice continued to ring in Qinya's ear like a magic spell. Qinya clenched her lower lip, closed her eyes, and kept shaking. After a long time, she breathed deeply, and her voice was very shallow and weak. Lu said everything outside. The princess and the lord of Qinghuan Pavilion are just cooperative relations. He asked you to go because he wanted to take in the net. How many people did she ambush? Jiang Wu was not surprised. He asked quickly. She thought you would only come alone, so there were only 20 or 30 people in all. Qinya is not trying to support her. Instead, she spits out what she knows, but nobody pays attention to it. She still holds it tightly in her palm. Jiang Wu immediately sneered, his face covered with a layer of disdain. The whole Wujuan is under my control. With her strength, she still wants to punish me. It's really funny. With that, his eyes fell on Qinya again, and the dark color in his eyes all showed. I just said, you should understand. Originally, I didn't intend to save your life, but I suddenly changed my mind. I can live for you, but you have to listen to me. Do you understand? This is the right hand of Mo Shanghua. It's very useful to keep it. He will never let it go easily. Qinya's face was a bit of a struggle, hesitated for a long time, and then she clenched her teeth and nodded. As long as I can live, I will listen to you. That's the way to know the current affairs. Jiang Wu nodded with satisfaction, then turned his eyes to the guards who had been captured behind Qinya, and told the steward, "Lock these people up for the time being. You're ordering some good martial arts. Put on their clothes, and then..." His face sank down. A bit of een and evil did not hide the flow from the face, straight at the heart of the cold. But he let the manager listen to him, as if nothing had happened. The steward hastened up. Seeing the two people's attention shifted, Qinya's grip on the palm of her hand was released. The cool air came, and her palm was cold. Then she found that her palm was already full of sweat. "Princess, here comes Mr. Jiang." Qinya bowed down to the flowers and opened her mouth in a soft voice. Mo Shanghua's sight and Qinya didn't meet for a moment, but directly fell on Jiang Wu's body. His voice was as usual, indifferent and clear. "Now that Jiang Junsho has come, to sit down." As for the bodyguards behind Jiang Wu, as soon as they came in, they stood quietly in the elegant pavilion, forming a situation of encirclement. The flowers on the street seemed to be imperceptible, and the waves in the eyes are not rising. Jiang Wu didn't show any flaws on his face. He said thanks with a smile, and then sat down opposite the flowers on the street. Mo Shanghua then pushed a small stack of confessions on the table to Jiang Wu. "This is Lu Yuanwai's confession, which involves a lot. I hope that after seeing it, the Princess Jiang can give a suitable reason." Jiang Wu took the confession to himself and looked at it without much concern. However, the content inside made him look slightly changed. He thought that even if Counselor Lu said it, he couldn't really tell all the transactions between them. However, he didn't expect that all the details of the crime were clearly written. This made him more or less uncontrollable and a little angry. He wanted to find out Counselor Lu and kill him. Mo Shanghua looked at his face, changing little by little, and his lips moved. "Why doesn't Jiang Junsho talk? But what's the problem? Jiang Wu then passed away. He held these pages of accusations in his hand and said with a smile, "If my official says that none of these cases are true, can a princess be trusted?" There was a deep, gloomy color in his eyes, and he looked at the beautiful cheek of the flower on the street as if he had a clear conscience. Around is so staring at Mo Huang Mao Guang is still as deep and quiet as an ancient well for a long time. Just a little waves, but the cage is a bit light ridicule. I promise the people will produce results in 3 days. Tomorrow will be the 3rd day. Since the results have been, why don't I believe it? After a pause, her voice suddenly turned like a thin ice. More importantly, I'm afraid that the above things are only written less, corruption and bribery, careless about people's lives. Depending on the emperors far away, they commit crimes in the area of Wujuan. But the governor Jiang said, you could be wronged half a point. Jiang Wufei, however, did not panic. Instead, he began to laugh, mixed with some sarcasm. I don't know that the princess is so good at making up stories. I'm afraid it's not that she has read too much drama. She's confused and can't tell the truth. Without moving his eyebrows, he slowly took out a wooden box from under the table, took out the account book, and spread it out in front of Jiang Wu. I'm not too confused, at least I know these things. They're all interesting. Jiang Jun, show might as well have a look. Jiang Wu's eyes were more ironic. He glanced at the accounts casually. If I remember well, I lost all these things yesterday. How come they are in the hands of the princess now? It's hard for the princess to like the activities of the snitch. I don't know when Governor Jiang will learn to be like a gossip. Mo Shanghua's face was calm and could not see any anger. Besides, no matter how this thing came, it's really interesting. It's better for Sheriff Jiang to have a look. Jiang Wu's face darkened a little. After listening to what he said, he still had a little disdain in his heart, but he took a copy and read it at will. It's not the time to argue with this woman. She will look good later. However, his face suddenly changed in the middle of his thoughts. He immediately pinched the account tightly, looked at several pages quickly and carefully, and then took up the remaining books one by one in disbelief. Well, how is that possible? Jiang Wu Tong stood up and looked shocked. Mo Shanghua took no time to put away the messy accounts he made, and red lips gently opened. I forgot to tell you, what's in your dark room is fake. Now, the evidence is solid. Jiang Wu's face was very blue. After thinking about it for a long time, he found out the reason. He could not help biting his teeth. What can a simple account book tell us? Besides Liu, he had a bad heart before, and his words can't be believed. What if they came to kill people other than Member Liu? The flowers on the street are slightly picked, and a touch of light and mocking color is revealed. Qinya hung her head and did not move. Qin Lin didn't ask any more questions, but he answered quickly. After a while, he came back, followed by 4 bodyguards, 1 for each. If you look carefully, one is the masked man in black who took off the mask, and the other is Liu Yuan. Their clothes are in tatters, and they are stained with blood. They all look very embarrassed. Jiang Wu's eyebrows jumped. Before he could speak, the flower on the street over there said in a clear voice, "Why do you want to kill Member Liu?" The man in black seemed to have learned from the heavy torture tools. After hearing the words, he said in a low voice, "I'm from Master Zhang's secret guard camp." "Yes, I'm from Master Zhang's order to assassinate Member Liu." Then he took out a token from his sleeve and gave it to Qin Lin. "This is the token of the Dark Guard camp." Qin Lin took the token, turned around, and presented it to Mo Shanghua. Mo Shang Flower Mao light indifferently swept that token and nodded to the opposite Jiang Wu. Qin Lin comes over and puts the token in front of Jiang Wu. Jiang Wu's face was not too shocked and stiff. On the contrary, it was more and more dark, as if he was extremely angry. Although he was psychologically prepared, how could he not be angry when the people under his command betrayed him so easily because they could not stand torture? Seeing this, Member Liu knelt forward 2 steps at this time and said sadly, "Princess, if what the grass people say is false, how can Mr. Jiang send someone to kill the grass people? The grass people really dare not lie." Mo Shanghua looked sideways at Jiang Wu, full of vermilion lips, and gently picks. "This time, you have nothing to deny." Jiang Wu had guessed that there would be such a situation for a long time. He raised his eyes and looked at the guards in the four directions. He simply put on his lips and sneered. It's clearly the situation set up by the princess. Even if I say something at this time, what can I do? It's really useless. Mo Shanghua nodded his head sincerely and raised his hand to the table like boredom. The Son of Heaven is guilty of the same crime as the common people. Now that the Governor Jiang has admitted it, the princess has nothing to hide. Let me think about it. Corruption, recklessness, murder of the royal family, combined punishment for several crimes. It seems that it's for the 9 ethnic groups. Her eyes flickered a little carelessly, as if to say an unimportant fact. It was this attitude that aroused Jiang Wu's anger and fear. He stood up abruptly and said, "What does the princess mean? Or is all that the princess has done today to deliberately force me to rebel?" It seems that Sheriff Jiang is not too dull. Mo Shanghua raised her eyelids lightly, and the color of sarcasm in her eyes became stronger and stronger. Why? Isn't Governor Jiang prepared? Her eyes were as straight as the ice blade, as if she could penetrate everything, which made Jiang Wu's heart jump. There was a bad premonition. However, the premonition just flashed away. Then, he couldn't help sneering. He just felt that the flowers on the street couldn't turn out big waves. They were just pretending to be powerful. You forced me to do this. Jiang Wu's face was so cruel that he didn't cover it up at all. The voice just fell. The bodyguards, who were wearing the bodyguard clothes of King Yu's mansion, drew their sword from their waists one after another and made a state of attack. In a moment, they surrounded the whole room. At the same time, the sound of the piano and flute playing outside the box suddenly stopped and was replaced by the disorderly and noisy sound of footsteps. Jiang Wu's steward came in at this time, approached Jiang Wu's side, and said, "Tell me, the city gate has been blocked, and Chengwan Pavilion has been surrounded." "Well done." Jiang Wu was in a good mood, and his eyebrows and eyes were flowing with a little satisfaction. "Princess, now the whole Wujuan County is full of my official people. How? Do you still want to treat my officials' crime?" In the eyes of Hua Qingling in the street, it is still a quiet space, and the waves are not rising, as if the things in front of him have nothing to do with him. The crime that should be dealt with naturally needs to be dealt with, but now there is one more crime. The following crimes are treason and rebellion. Her red lips are as full as petals, and her voice is as clear and calm as a human being. "It's all this time, and you're still talking hard." Jiang Wu sneered and said, "By the way, I forgot to tell you. The little girl around you just joined me. Now you're really helpless. I advise you to know the current affairs." Mo Shanghua just glanced at Qinya, but Qinya lowered her head and didn't lift it up. Jiang Wu saw that, and the color of satisfaction between her eyebrows became more and more intense. Mo Shanghua doesn't question Qinya, but calmly stares at Jiang Wu for a long time. Then she suddenly raises her lips and smiles coldly. "Do you really think I'm alone? I'm afraid you've forgotten that I'm in Wujuan with you, and I'm his princess." "With him?" Jiang Wu sneered and said with disdain, "The so-called strong dragon doesn't suppress the local snake, is that the waste firewood used to be disguised. So what? In Wujuan, I'm the heaven here. No one can turn up a splash." As he spoke, his eyebrows and eyes were full of self-confidence, and he looked like he had no fear. "In charge, you can tell him what happened to the wastewood now." The steward smiles and flatters. "Lord Hui, the slave has been sent." Bang! Before the end of the speech, the closed box door suddenly smashed in a Yamen servant. Then, outside the door, there was a clear and uniform sound of footsteps, the cry of Yamen servants, and the sound of sword collision. "Old boy, you have bullied my princess. How can I tolerate you?" Yanbei City is just like coming from the wind. It strides in from the broken box door with a majestic look. Its eyes are as leisurely as ever, as if it were a garden trip. It seems that the fighting and killing outside the door behind him have nothing to do with him. Jiang Wu Mao color done when black as the bottom of the pot. A foot will be ruthlessly kicked in the heart of the steward. Waste. Steward was kicked, mouth spit blood, but did not dare to move. Mouth repeatedly begged for mercy. Jiang Wu is no longer looking at him. Eyes cage on a layer of cruel color, are still in a daze to do what? Do not hurry up, take him down. As soon as the words came down, the people who had been around the hall responded. They quickly grasped the sword in their hands and wanted to kill Yan Beiqing. Yan Beiqing didn't move his eyebrows. When those people approached, Mo Ling and several other people in black suddenly rose from his side and faced the dozens of guards. Although those bodyguards have high martial arts skills, Mo Ling and others all can block the existence of 5. Even now, there are not enough people, and they are not inferior. Yanbei City passed through the middle of the fight as if nothing had happened. Every line was protected by Mo Ling until Mo Shanghua was near, and he didn't hurt half of his clothes. Old boy, do you really think that if the gate is sealed, there will be no one to use? To tell you the truth, I have countless hidden stakes in Wujuan. In addition, the gang of minions I brought to deal with you are enough. Yin North City is not smiling of congealing Jiang Wu. Lang voice opening. This king also wants to thank you, sealed the city gate in time. Jiang Wu's face suddenly changed. He quickly walked to the side of the window, opened the window, and looked out at the market. Under the window, the Yamen servants who were originally surrounded by Chenghuan Pavilion were already in a mess. They were fighting with a group of people dressed as guards in black. Everywhere they could reach, they were in a bloody mess. Jiang Wu's heart suddenly sank, and his hand holding the window bar could not help tightening. He pondered for a few seconds. Suddenly, a fierce color flashed in his eyes. Then, he turned out of the window with one hand holding the window lattice. This box is located on the 2nd floor. When he went down through the window, he wanted to use the protruding cornice of the window to ease his strength, but unexpectedly, he stepped on the air and fell down. Fortunately, he did not fall directly to the ground, but hit the crowd fighting the Yamen outside. The Yamen servant vomited blood and died on the spot. On the contrary, it was Jiang Wu who covered the fall and got up with a little pain on his shoulder. Before anyone noticed him, he quickly turned the corner and walked into the alley without any trace. The flower eyebrow heart light CU on the MO, busy and quick step to the window side, Hang Mao to carefully search a circle in the downstairs, but also saw Jiang Wu turn into the body shape in the alley. How come it's gone so soon, princess? How can it be good? Qinya was silent for a long time, and she looked up and worried. The sheriff's mansion has been controlled now. He will not go back. Now there's only one place where he will go. The flowers on the street take back their eyes and voice. Yin North City leisurely walked to her side, eyebrow light pick. Princess think, next step how to do? You should be clear too. The flower eyes on the street are as bright as a blade, with a faint smile, falling straight on Yanbei City. Yan Beiqing's eyes were dark and deep, and his face didn't change at all. It's better for the princess to make a decision when I'm confused. Mo Shanghua didn't want to push off Yan Beiqing. He looked away and said in a light voice, "Give me a few people. I'll go after them myself." Jiang Wu knows too much, and there are many foundations in Wu Prefecture. If we don't eradicate them, we will only leave hidden dangers, which is a situation that we have to eliminate. Boring. Yan Beiqing turned his mouth and looked at Mo Ling and others who had solved the guards. He said, "Just a few of you go with the princess. Remember, the words of the princess are the same as those of the king, and there is no objection." It seems that he just ordered a few people at random, but in fact they were all the right people under his command, and he gave such an order. As Mo Ling bent down to accept the order, he was secretly frightened in his heart, and his eyes became more and more strange. Mo Shanghua didn't notice that the look of several people was that he glanced at them at will and then walked away. Instead of directly entering the lane where Jiang Wu first advanced, she directly went out of the flower street and rushed to the gate from the most central official road. Mo Shanghua knows that Jiang Wu is also a smart man. If he is not stupid, he should guess that the sheriff's mansion has been controlled by them at this time, and now there is only the castle to go. Jiang Wu walked around the alleys and ran along a shortcut to the city gate. He arrived much earlier than Mo Shanghua. However, the situation in front of him made him feel stunned, and his face turned black. I saw that all the heavy soldiers he had arranged here were lying on the ground now. It seemed that they were all drugged and couldn't wake up for a moment. Little bitches. Jiang Wu clenched his teeth and squeezed out a word from between his teeth. It seemed that he could drip water. Sheriff Jiang still has time to speak ill of me at this time. I think there is a panacea. It's when I'm angry that the cool voice of the flowers in the street rings. Then, she walked slowly towards the gate with a leisurely pace. Her delicate and beautiful face was calm and indifferent as usual. After her, Mo Ling and the other two dark guards with short swords follow her step by step. They all have steady steps and reserve breath. One could see that their martial arts are extraordinary. Jiang Wu's face suddenly changed. He subconsciously stepped back a few steps, but his mouth was full of momentum. Do you really want to kill everything? As he spoke, the color of his eyes flashed, and it seemed that there was some essence passing by. The original movement of backward pause, and then quickly back to the gate, pushed the gate. However, after he pushed for a long time, the gate was as still as a mountain and could not be pushed for half a minute. Mo Shanghua stood in the same place, quietly looking at Jiang Wu's shape, and did not move half a minute. Why do you have to do this useless work? To tell you the truth, the gate of the city was locked when I ordered people to poison these people. If you can go out, there are soldiers outside the gate. You can't escape. After a pause, her voice slightly contained the meaning of extermination. Jiang Wu, you have committed many crimes, and now you dare to plot rebellion. Today, my princess will kill you personally in reply to the imperial city. Jiang Wu's face turned blue and white. He clenched his fists tightly, gritted his teeth, and said, "You've already arranged everything today?" The flowers on the street did not answer, but just quietly coagulated Jiang Wu. The look in his eyes was quiet and deep, as if Jiang Wu had nothing to do with him. Jiang Wu stares at Mo Shanghua's eyes for a while. Then he suddenly thinks of something. His pupils dilate and exclaim, No, it's more than that. You deliberately forced me to fight back, including today's maid. What she said was also false. She was also a part of your plan. The so-called evidence to punish me is just flavoring. Mo Tong turned slightly, and her red lips picked lightly. I remember that I had admitted before that I was deliberately forcing you to fight against me. And you're not stupid, but smart is mistaken by smart. The shock on Jiang Wu's face didn't fade for a long time. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and stared at the flowers in the street with hatred. I'm not good. You don't want me good either, bitch. With that, he suddenly turned aside and ran to the side of the city building. Then he closed the wooden carved door tightly. Then he quickly moved many desks and chairs to block the door from inside. Come down. Without waiting for Mo Shanghua to start, Mo Ling went forward first, carried his internal power, and kicked the door hard. About his Jiang Wudu's thing too many. The wood-carving door, just violent tremble, did not fall. Go on. Mo Shanghua's eyes are fixed on the wooden door, and he orders in a light voice. Mo Ling nodded. Busy continued to carry internal force, leaving no spare force toward the wood door kick. After several times in succession, the wooden door was kicked out of the frame, and then it fell back on the table and chair cabinet inside. The other two dark guards came forward to help clear away. The houses in the city building were already in a mess. Jiang Wu's body was not seen, but there was an inner room not far in front of him. Mo Shanghua Mao Guang cautiously swept from the front of the inner room door, pondered for a while, just pushed the door and entered. Just pushed the door to go in. In front of cold light, suddenly a flash. A long sword blade then fiercely stabbed toward her. Mo Shanghua was surprised. She grabbed an unlighted candlestick beside her and blocked the blow. Then she lifted her eyes and swept around the room. Looking around, there are dozens of people in black with swords standing in such a narrow inner room, and their costumes are the same as those seen in Qingyuan Pavilion. Hua Qingling's eyes suddenly coagulate on the street. He wanted to leave the room first, but Mo Ling and others noticed the movement of the inner room and rushed in. The rest of the people in black rushed towards them. The small room suddenly became crowded and could not even fight. Fortunately, Mo Ling and others are highly skilled in martial arts. Even if they're good at martial arts, they can only hold them down for a while, but they can't really deal with them. Lead them out. Mo Shanghua leads the two people in black out of the inner room and orders Mo Ling and others to go down. Mo Ling and others secretly wrote it down. They listened to the orders and began to change their moves. They solved what the man in black could solve as soon as possible and let out all the difficult ones. Lead the man in black to the outside, and there's a lot of space to show. But after a while, Mo Shanghua will solve the two men in black who are entangled with her and quickly return to the previous inner room and lock the door from the internal force temporarily. There was another person in black who had not gone out in the room. She shot a silver needle directly from her finger. Before the person in black rushed over, she shot the silver needle into the man in black's eyebrow, and the man in black fell to the ground heavily. Just after a fight, the house was already full of scars. The smell of blood filled the nose, but the flowers on the street seemed unheard of. Without expression, they came forward and searched around the house. Jiang Wu just disappeared here. There is a secret way here. She must not let Jiang Wu run away. According to Jiang Wu's previous arrangement of organs, Mo Shanghua starts directly from the wall, knocks on the wall, and then pushes away a brick and stone. A secret passage suddenly shows its face from the corner. Mo Shanghua clenched the dagger in his hand, quickly measured it in his mind, and then quickly stepped into the dark path. The secret passage is different from that in the sheriff's mansion. It is not a straight and wide passage. The passage here is slightly narrow and winding, just like the alley in the market. Rao is also a stranger. Eyebrows cannot help but gently see you. A time also hesitated down. Among these roads, there must be a dead end. If you go wrong, you'll be doomed. His life can't be saved, let alone catch Jiang Wu. Mo Shanghua stood in the same place, frowning at the lane leading to the three directions in front of her eyes, thinking to herself in her heart. Jiang Wu walked clean and left no trace, so she didn't even have anything to refer to. About this time, Jiang Wu had already left the city. The flower heart on the street thought disorderly for a moment, and then realized that he was busy and continued to think. According to the location of the secret passage and the location of the tower, her eyes ran across a glimmer of light. Eyes of a sudden turned. It fell on the right fork in the road. Eyes show firm color, got up and walked. It's a lot smoother along the way. There's no secret passage. Occasionally, there are a few intersections. The flowers in the street, choose the one on the far right. Everything looks very calm. And the princess? Yin Beiqing looked at a room of corpses, as well as a falling eardrop of flowers on the street. His white face sank down bit by bit, and there seemed to be a storm gathering slowly in his deep eyes. Mo Ling and others knelt down and buried their heads deeply. When my subordinates cleaned up the people outside, there was no princess in the house. It was because my subordinates were not good at doing things. I begged the Lord to punish them. Punishment, Yin Beicheng sneered, and his eyes almost burst out with anger. If the princess is hit by Jiang Wu's plan, what's the matter? Do you think it can be done just by punishment? Mo Ling did not dare to lift his head. His eyes were full of dignified and a little surprised. My subordinates should die. For decades, Yin Beicheng has always been a strategist. Before he knew the situation, he was so furious. It seems that the woman really has great ability. However, Rao knew that Yin Beicheng was not calm at this time, and he did not dare to remind him. If he did not say it well, it would add fuel to the fire. Yin Beicheng tightly holds the eardrop in his hand, as if trying to rub her into the blood. His deep eyes are full of violence, but it seems that he is trying to bear it. For a long time, his hand holding the eardrop was a little loose, and the tyrannical color in his eyes was slightly flat. His eyes were sharp and sharp, and he swept around the room for a long time. Only after a long time could he bear the tyrannical killing intention in his heart and command in a deep voice, "Look, I must find the secret way here in a stick of incense. And Jiang Wu, if you catch him, You will be killed immediately after a pause. He glanced at Mo Ling and others who were still kneeling on the ground. His voice was as cold as that of people falling into the ice lake. When the princess has found it, you all go to get the punishment by yourself. Yes. Several people did not dare to say more, and they responded in unison. Mo Shanghua thought that the road would go smoothly, but she still took a few wrong steps in the dark road. It's not that I went into the killing array. I just went to a dead end and had to go back the same way. It took a lot of time. In this dark road for a long time, I don't know how long it took for me to walk. When I finally passed a winding place, I saw a bright light on the road ahead. The flower eye color on the street is a condensation, but there is no hurry to come forward, but pull out the hairpin between the hair and throw it to the bright light. The silver hairpin fell on the ground, rolled a few rolls on the ground, and stopped in Kankan, but there was no movement. Mo Shanghua just breathed a sigh of relief, walked forward, and then saw the top of the head of the bright exit suddenly covered with a green slate. The exit from the outside closed, issued a heavy, dull sound. Little bitch, since you have come in, you can't go out anymore. You will stay here for the rest of your life. Jiang Wu's wild voice came from above, and he seemed very proud. The color of flower eyes on the street changed slightly, but it didn't stop for a moment. Suddenly, the toe of the foot was on the ground, and the whole person jumped up, and the palm of the hand pushed towards the bluestone board on the top of the head. The bluestone suddenly trembled, and then it was forced to lift up, showing the bright spots outside. But the flower on the street did not dare to hesitate, and took advantage of the gap, and slipped out from the gap like a light butterfly. In the dark road for a long time, outside the sun spent a time, also some do not adapt, cannot help but squint, drooping eyes to there just out of the direction. The bluestone slab she had just pushed away had been broken into two on the floor nearby, while Jiang Wu, who had already moved to the cabinet beside the entrance of the cave, had fallen on the ground askew, as if it was caused by the huge impact of the bluestone slab just now. As for Jiang Wu, he was very unlucky to be pressed under the cupboard, but his body was not pressed, and his only leg was pressed to death. His face was twisted, and he could not help scolding bitch. Such a big noise fell, and there was a commotion outside. After a while, 10 bodyguards rushed in. The flower on the street squinted and found that it was Yin Beicheng. Guards see the situation inside the house is also Lung Lung, and then busy kneel down in front of the flowers on the street. See princess. Tie up Jiang Wu. You all get up first. Mo Shanghua nodded. Mao Guang swept a circle in the house. See this house furnishings extravagant. Lu Mei micro see you. I ask you, here's the sheriff's house? Yes. Well, this must be Jiang Wu's bedroom. Unexpectedly, in addition to burying the secret road in the study, Jiang Wu even digs here in all directions. He must have emptied the whole land in Wujian City. The flower eyes on the street were a little pale and walked slowly to Jiang Wu, who had been suppressed by the guards. As soon as the guards saw the flowers coming, they were not in a hurry to tie up Jiang Wu and knelt him down. Jiang Wu's leg had just been crushed by the cupboard, and it was almost broken. Since then, he heard a click sound, and his leg bone directly dislocated. The pain made him cry again. Mo Shanghua saw that he was so miserable. He never frowned and looked down at him. First, your secret way didn't trap me. Second, it didn't protect me. It just delayed the time of your death. Jiang Wu's face was completely twisted, and he couldn't even care about the pain in his legs. His eyes were full of hatred. Little bitch, do you really think that if you kill me, everything will be all right? It's a dream. I'll tell you the truth. I'm from the Imperial City. If you kill me, the Imperial City will immediately know that you and your waste will not survive. Besides, I've already sent a message to the Imperial City about the change of that rubbish. You are all dead. The color of mockery in the flower eyes on the street is getting stronger and stronger, and the vermilion lips are curving coldly. So what about knowing? Her eyes, which used to be pure and clear, were now filled with pride and self-confidence, as if she were the queen above. Jiang Wu was stunned, and then suddenly thought that this place was also the emperor of Tiangao. His eyes suddenly burst with a thick color of reluctance, and he could not help gritting his teeth. You are absolutely rampant for a long time. You must be like me. It's a bad ending. Take it down. After a hard day's work, Mo Xianghua didn't want to waste her words with Jiang Wu, so she told her to go on. The bodyguards did not move, hesitated for a moment. One of them said, "Report back to the princess. The prince has just given an order. If you catch this person, kill immediately. By the way, the Lord is looking for you. He seems very anxious." To me, Mo Shanghua's attention is put on the second half of the sentence. There is a moment of confusion in the eyes, and then seems to think of something. The eyes of the micro cannot be checked across a bit of chagrin, more delicate than the hair, cannot be checked. She had only focused on catching Jiang Wu before, and she didn't have time to talk to Mo Ling, let alone leave a mark in a secret way. It must be that Yin Beiqing thought she was in Jiang Wu's plan at this time. It is chagrin at the moment. Behind the dark road suddenly came a slight movement, and Mo Flower eyes suddenly surge on the color of vigilance. Plain hand once again touched the waist blood dagger. Unexpectedly, the movement rang for a while, but suddenly a man came out of the cave. The flower on the street looked carefully and saw that the man was Yanbei City. Yin Beiqing's description at this time was not embarrassed, but his hair was a little messy. What's more surprising is that at this time, his original dandy style has disappeared, and his whole body is full of tyranny. It seems that with a little bit, he can completely explode. He narrowed his eyes and swept around the room. When the light of his eyes fell on the flower, he suddenly had a meal. Most of the violence in his eyes faded in a flash, leaving only a little surprise, a little joy of recovery, and a little emotion that he could not understand. The next second, he suddenly came forward and hugged Mo Shanghua in his arms. He pressed her head into his chest, as if he wanted to rub her into his body. Mo Shanghua was almost out of breath, and Mo Shanghua was stunned for a long time before she came back to herself. She subconsciously raised her hand and gently pushed Yin Beicheng, but failed to push him away. Instead, she was hugged more tightly. For a moment, she was stunned. She didn't know what to do. She didn't even know how to put her hands and feet. For the first time, she was a bit helpless in her eyes. The surrounding air seems to be at this moment stagnating and gluing down. For a long time, Mo Shanghua thought later that Yin Beicheng should be worried about her. That's why I'm so excited. That's why I hold her tight. Her tentative Yin Beicheng whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice. "I have nothing to do." Her tentative Yin Beicheng whispered in his ear, with a bit of helplessness in his voice, but did not expect Yin Beicheng body meal, and then gently pushed her away from his arms, two hands holding her delicate cheek, drooping eyes deeply staring at her. At this time, Yanbei City seemed to be back to normal, but it was not the way he looked like King Yu in front of outsiders. It was like the momentum of a man in a cloak, but it was not like him. In the eyes of the cloak people, they're always indifferent, deep, and unpredictable. But in front of Yin Beicheng, although the look in the eyes is still unpredictable, it clearly reflects the delicate cheek of flowers on the street. The flower on the road can't help but be as young again, haven't walked out from his eyes for a long time. It was Yin Beicheng who regained his mind and held her in his arms again. In a flash, his voice returned to his usual dandy appearance, with some grievances. "Princess, you can make me easy to find." Before the flowers on the street could speak, Jiang Wu could not help exclaiming, You're all pretending to be crazy. What's more, it's impossible for ordinary people to find an exit without being trapped for 10 or 8 days. It's okay to have flowers on the street. If Yanbei City is really a wastewood, how can it be so smooth? It seems that he is not only a wastewood, but also a genius in 10,000. Yin Beicheng's eyes flashed a very fine intention to kill, and his voice was impatient. "Why is this old boy still here? I said that if I catch him, I will kill him." The bodyguard knelt down and pleaded guilty. Jiang Wu's face was frightened again. Mo Shanghua grabs Yin Beicheng's arm and shakes his head. "Yin Beicheng, some of the remaining parties in Wujuan have not been eliminated. This man can't be killed." Yin Beicheng frowned slightly and looked down as if thinking. For a long time, he raised his head, flat mouth, face of reluctance, then listened to the princess. Take him down, good health care. The bodyguards were relieved, and then tied up Jiang Wu and took him down. By that time, it was already bright outside. Mo Shanghua glanced at the sky outside, and then relaxed a little. She casually found a rag to wipe away the bloody dagger, and then found a seat to take a rest. Yin Beicheng brought a chair and sat down next to her. He ordered someone to bring a pot of tea. He poured it in front of the flowers on the street and said with a smile, "The princess has been busy for so long. She must be thirsty. Drink some quickly." Mo Shanghua nodded and drank the tea. "Just put down the teacup." Yin Beicheng came forward and carefully raised her hand to wipe off the water stains on her lips. Mo Shanghua pushed away Yin Beicheng's hand, turned his head, and didn't look at Yin Beicheng's eyes. He said as if to resolve the embarrassment, "By the way, when Jiang Wu's party members are removed in a few days, you could put people in, and then Jiang Wu will directly commit rebellion and previous crimes, beheading on the street, as for the Imperial City side." Thinking of this, I can't help frowning slightly. My eyes are a little worried. Jiang Wu seems to have found your abnormality a few days ago. He has sent someone to report to the Imperial City quietly. With a few trash he sent out, Yin Beicheng is disdainful of hook lips, eyes full of fearless color. Princess need not worry. Those people have been waiting for Jiang Wu below. As for the Imperial City, after a pause, he smiles and pours a cup of tea into the hand of the flower. "I'm a man, but I'm the one who supports everything. You just need to be your princess. I'll be fine." Mingming looks at such an unreliable person on weekdays. When he says these words, he feels inexplicable peace of mind. It seems that he has taken a reassuring pill. Good. The corner of the lips of the flowers on the street is shallow, and the worry between the eyebrows and eyes dissipates. Yin Beicheng's lips rose with him. He was in a good mood. "I've never seen you smile like this before." Mo Shanghua raised her hand and touched her lips, feeling a little trance in her heart. Her heart is cold. She seldom laughs with her heart. Most of her heart is just for fun. Now, why on earth, when he was puzzled, Yin Beicheng suddenly came up to her and stared at her cheek. "You look pretty when you smile. They all say that people are just like their names. It seems that I still don't know what your name is." As he spoke, a dark color rose from the bottom of his eyes. To be honest, he had overheard her many times and knew her name, but she never said it to him personally, and he always felt sorry for it in his heart. After Yin Beicheng said so, Mo Shanghua seemed to realize that he had never mentioned his name to him. "Once upon a time, I didn't think it was necessary. Now that he asked, she didn't have to hide anything." Flowers on the road. She turned her eyes slightly. Her voice was clear and calm, like the breeze in the valley, and she rode from the heart of Yin Beicheng. Flowers on the street. He drooped his eyes and whispered softly. The thick eyelashes covered up the look in his eyes. The flowers on the street stared at him for a long time, only wondering, what's the matter, but what's wrong? No, it's just nice. Yin Beicheng suddenly raised his eyes. His smiling eyebrows were curved and his eyes were shining. "It's getting late. You go back to clean up and eat something. You don't have to worry about other things. I will do it well." Late at night has been working. Mo Shanghua nature is also tired, listened to him say, so, then also nodded good. Then he got up and went back. Mo Shanghua go far. Yin Beicheng also got up, turned to go to the main hall. Mo Ling and others have been waiting in the hall for a long time. When they saw Yin Beicheng coming, they all saluted in turn. Yin Beicheng went to several people and waved to them to get up. "I hear the princess has been found." The room has not been quiet for a while, and Mo Ling tentatively asked. Yin North City light air, obsidian-like dark deep eyes, no wave, no land, but also unpredictable. But fortunately, there is no anger. My subordinates will go to get the punishment when they have something to report. Mo Lingwei breathed a sigh of relief. The family members Jiang Wu sent away quietly a few days ago have been captured. The leaders in the city have also been captured. Only a few of them are still running away. Their subordinates have already ordered people to catch them. They will be able to catch them in a few days. However, how to deal with these people, Please show me. The city gate will continue to be closed for one day until those people are caught. The city gate will be opened tomorrow morning, but strict investigation is still needed to prevent the rest of the party from escaping. Yin Beiqing seemed to have thought it over for a long time, but without thinking about it, he just said, after catching those people, they will all be killed 3 days later. Jiang Wu's family members are just like the old law. They can do whatever they want to do. Yes, Mo Ling's eyes should be lowered, and he has written it down in his heart. Yin North City Negative Hand stands in front of few people, then seemed to think of what general, open mouth again. The person that Lu Jun transfers arrived? It's already here. Arrange for them to hand over the affairs of Wu Juan as soon as possible. Yin Beiqing's voice was steady. Everything seemed to have been planned in his heart, and he arranged it in an orderly way. Just after giving orders, a dark way suddenly ran in and knelt down on one knee. Lord, there are still some trivial things in the Lin family. You need to deal with them yourself. Yin Beiqing had been busy for a long time for the fat meat of the Lin family. Seeing this, he didn't say much. He nodded his head and ordered some other things. Then he changed his clothes and went. In recent days, everything in Wujuan has been dealt with by Yanbei City, and the gate of the city can't get out for a while. It's rare for the flowers on the street to steal their leisure time. Just listen to the news Qinya inquires about every day. This day, Mo Shanghua had nothing to do after dinner, so he leaned on the beauty couch to read the historical books. Seeing this, Qinya took a plate of fruit and put on the table beside her. Princess, I heard that Jiang Wu had already killed her. Do you know that there are still robbers today? As a result, the Lord has long expected and deliberately set up a plan. Not only those people will never come back, but also all the rest of the party will be killed. Mo Shanghua has learned about the strength of Yanbei City in recent days. For example, the officials in charge of the upper and lower affairs in the city reshuffle their cards and become their own people in just 2 days. Even the order of the city has not been affected much. For example, Zhang Wuyu's party, by blocking the gate of the city and instigating trouble among the people, almost fought with the city guards. Before waiting for her to be informed, Yin Beiqing dealt with it by himself. It can be seen how deep his disguise has been for so many years. Mo Shanghua has long been used to listening. Mao Guang did not leave from the page, only nodded faintly. I know. Qinya's face was full of excitement. She was about to talk about something. Yu Guang glanced at Yin Beiqing, who was coming behind her. She hushed and retreated quietly. The flowers on the street are enchanted and have never been noticed. Yin Beiqing took the scroll out of her hand and looked at her with a full face of resentment. What did the princess see so absorbed? Even the king didn't care. Mo Shanghua sat up slowly and took the book back and put it in place. She explained in a low voice, just look at it casually. Are you done with your affairs? It's almost there. Yin Beiqing nodded casually, and then came to her mysteriously. I'm here this time, but I've prepared a small gift for you. What gift? The eyebrows and eyes on the street are still the same color. Knowing that Mo Shanghua had always been indifferent and didn't like to guess, Yin Beiqing took a small stack of paper from her sleeve, put it in her hand, and looked at her with a smile. Mo Shanghua looked at the papers one by one. After reading them all, she was a little surprised and frowned. Isn't this Lin's shop? How can you have these? You don't care how you came here. You just need to know, and then you'll take care of all these things for the time being. Yin Beiqing was afraid that the flowers would not be collected, so he told a lie. Mo Shanghua's ruddy lips are slightly pursed. Looking down at these shop wedges, I feel complicated. How could she not know that it was all Yin Beiqing's pretext? But why did he treat himself so well? They were just mutually beneficial. If they were given to him, he would not get the same benefits. On the other hand, if these things fall into her hands, and Qianlin is there, she will have the whole wealth of Wu County in her hands. He is not afraid that she will try to make huge profits and stir up the people's riots, just like Qianlin. Yin Beiqing seemed to see her idea, but he couldn't help laughing again. You're not thinking about why I'm so good to you, are you? Don't think about it. It's just because I have so many things on hand that I can't help it. but only he knows that these things are not easy to get. Mo, Shanghua eyebrow heart still don't show, can't help but lift eyes to stare at Yin Beiqing's eyes to see, but always can't see through, simply don't conjecture, temporarily put things away. However, in front of Yin Beiqing, she suddenly didn't know what to say. She could not help holding the corner of her clothes and was worried. As if he could not see her thoughts, Yin Beiqing put his face directly in front of her, just like a dandy, and said with a smile, "I know that you are excited, and I don't know what to do. In this way, you will treat it as a gift in return." Yin Beiqing's good and white face was close to his eyes. Huai Jin in the street couldn't help getting hot. He pushed him away. Wu got up and stepped back a few steps. "Don't play a rascal. I won't do that." Yin Beiqing's eyes swept over her red Ingrun earlobe, and her deep eyes could not help but catch a faint smile. Just as she was about to step forward, Mo Ling burst in at this time, looking in a hurry, as if there was something urgent to report. Yin Beiqing suddenly, as if he had been hit by a good thing, said angrily, "What's the matter in such a hurry?" Mo Shanghua sees this. The earlobe is more and more hot. Busy called Chinya to come over. "Chinya, let's go first." Chinya with a smile, busy nodding, such as pounding garlic behind the flowers. "My king has allowed you to go?" Yin Beiqing frowned unhappily and pulled the flower back directly. They didn't give her the chance to speak. He said to himself, "Moling, you just say that there is no one else here." Mo Shanghua's wrist was tightly held by Yin Beiqing, and he couldn't get rid of it. He wanted to refute it. His eyes swept to Mo Ling. After thinking about it, he calmed down and watched quietly for a while. Mo Ling has become more and more accustomed to Yin Beiqing's indulgence in Mo Shanghua. He nods, takes out an urgent secret letter from his sleeve, and hands it to Yin Beiqing. Yin Beiqing opened and looked closely, but his face was dignified, and his hand holding the flowers on the street was relaxed. Hua Mei's heart beat. Before he could ask questions, he saw Yin Beiqing throw the letter to Mo Ling, and the color behind it was dignified. He said, "Take some people with you and leave immediately. I'll catch up with you later." After reading the contents of the secret letter, Mo Ling's face was also dignified. He answered in a busy voice, "Yes." "What happened?" Mo Shanghua's eyes were a little confused, and he could not help asking softly. Yin Beiqing was silent for a while. He just turned his eyes and looked at the flowers on the street. His eyes were dark and deep. "Something urgent happened. I have to leave Wujuan. However, Wujuan has just settled down. There is no danger. You have to leave Wujuan with me." After a pause, he raised his hand and gently grasped the soft hands of flowers on the street. "I will send you back to Yuzhou first, and I will start tonight." Although Mo Shanghua didn't know what Yin Beiqing was doing, he knew that it must be a bit tricky. He nodded, "Okay, I'll clean it up now and come back to you in the evening." Yin Beiqing is not sure because she can't help now. Besides, she has nothing to do in Wujuan now. It's time to go back. There's no need to stay here. Yuzhou is the place where she should go back to fight. It is an indispensable step for her revenge. Mo Shanghua left Qin Lin and Wujuan for the time being and asked him to look after the fields in the suburbs. He also took care of Qin Lin and the Lin family. So he packed up and went back to Yuzhou with Yin Beiqing. Wujuan was only 2 days away from Yuzhou. Because of the emergency, he rushed to Yuzhou in only 1.5 days. Yinbei City didn't even enter Yuzhou City, so he said goodbye to Mo Shanghua and rushed to the border. At that time, it was only noon. Before she arrived at the palace, she saw many figures standing in front of the palace. It seems that most of them are women. On the street, Huasu gently lifted the curtain of the carriage and looked out carefully. Seeing this, her eyes were a bit thoughtful. After a long time, he closed his eyes and sat back again. "Princess, what's the matter, but what's wrong?" Chinya sits on the side of the flower on the street and asks in a low voice. "Nothing." Mo Shanghua shakes her head and doesn't want to say more. Seeing this, Chinya didn't ask much, so she nodded and said nothing more. Just as they were talking, the steady speed of the carriage slowed down. Then a respectful voice came in. "Princess, here you are." Please get out of the car. Before the flowers on the street answered, Chinya went ahead and helped her down slowly beside the carriage when the flowers came out. Mo Shanghua stood still, and his eyes were light, which swept slowly from the door of King Yu's mansion. The gate of the palace is as brilliant as ever, and the figure you just saw from afar is clear at this time. It is the Yings in the affiliated courtyard of Yanbei City, and Nanha is the leader. Today's season, although it is not yet summer, is not as refreshing as in the past. And just in the afternoon, some G concubines' faces are sweating. Their makeup is beaten by sweat, some flowers, and their faces are quite impatient. Nanha, who is independent in the front, has sweat on his face, but he doesn't know what kind of powder he used. His makeup is not in disorder, and he can't see half of his impatience on his face. As soon as she saw the flowers coming, she took the lead to step forward. Ing Fu body, maidservant concubine rate each courtyard G concubine. Welcome the princess back to the house. Ji Chia, who followed her, responded and followed Fu Shun to salute. Get up. The flowers on the street gathered a bit of tired color on the face and spoke in a low voice. Princess Xia. The flower on the street nodded her chin, and her eyes could not help falling on Nan He. I came back in a hurry, but I didn't have time to send someone to inform me. Nanji's news is very good. I'll wait here early. It's really hard for you. Nanha slightly narrowed his eyes and staggered the sight of the flowers on the street. The etiquette was very comprehensive. The Lord sent someone to send a letter back early in the morning. The concubine Wang is the main room, and the maids and concubines should welcome each other in person. Princess, I've already ordered people to prepare lunch. This meeting should be almost over. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept from Nanhi's face. Seeing that her face was neither humble nor overbearing, and her posture was dignified and gentle, she couldn't see any flaws. Her eyes couldn't help deepening. This person may be more difficult to deal with than Lu Qianqian. In her heart, she just glanced at her face. Then she went around Nanha and went to the mansion. Who can I show you? Pingji saw the flowers on the street go away, and she wiped the sweat on her cheek with a handkerchief. She grumbled discontentedly. The rest of the concubines were discontented. You and I are concubines of Ji. We should be waiting for the princess here. What can we complain about? South Crane thin eyebrow light Siyu softly rebuke. Yin Beicheng is favored by Nan He, and everyone in the house knows about it. At this time, when he sees her admonishment, he is also very angry. He has to reluctantly accept the dissatisfaction on his face. Yes, I am taught. We are all sisters. We don't have to. Get up quickly. Nana said so, but he didn't go to help Pingji up. I've been drying here for so long. Sisters, no matter how hot the weather is, this makeup will never be used. Later, I'll ask you honor to send you a box. It's the right as an apology for bringing you here to wait. Ji Chia, who had been dissatisfied with each other's faces, softened a lot and began to flatter with a smile. If Mo Shanghua saw this scene, he would have a good sigh. The South Crane slapped a sweet jujube. He really had a good time. He gave himself a good impression, not to mention, but also gave her a lot of hatred by the way. Mo Shanghua just arrived in the hall. Nanny's maid followed her and led her to the master's seat. Then she told the servant girls to arrange the dishes as soon as possible. These dishes are all very exquisite, and the banquet is also very well arranged. It can be seen that Nanha really bothered. Mo Shanghua sits on the top of the throne, but she doesn't move her chopsticks. Yu Guang sweeps the tardy Nanhe and others. After they sit down, she moves her chopsticks. After a whole day's driving, the dry food on the road was no more delicious than these meals. Just now, she just kept the etiquette and didn't let go. Nanha sits gracefully on the flower's head in the street, and his eyes scan the flower quietly from time to time, and the dark light flickers in the deep of his pupils. The princess and the prince have been away for more than a month. My concubine heard that there are many mobs in Wujuan, which is extremely unsafe. I don't know what trouble the princess has encountered. The flower head on the street also did not lift after swallowing the thing in the mouth. Just slowly enunciation. Small trouble, just calculate not what. It's true that with the prince, How could those mobs hurt the princess? South Crane suddenly seems to think of what general, some trance whisper. Pingji's pupil turned around and said bitterly, "No, when the prince was in the mansion, he protected the princess everywhere. He loved the princess as much as Sister Nanha. Like us, we don't see the Lord once in 10 days and a half." Mo Shanghua can't see Pingji's meaning. She doesn't understand it, so she continues to eat and ignore it. "Elder sister, don't say that. You're the old man in the mansion. My younger sister is just a newcomer, and the Lord has more pity on me." South Crane, angry Pingji one eye, turn to see to Mo Shanghua. In the end, the princess is the king's top pet. This is to encourage her to show off how good Yinbei City was to her in Wujuan. What does Nanha want to know? The flower eyebrows and eyes on the street are drooping, and the clear and good-looking eyes like glass are a bit thoughtful. Nanha wants to know that there must be a plot, so she doesn't say it. So think, Mo Shanghua will continue to pretend to be deaf and dumb, as if not smell about to eat, a pair of their words completely indifferent appearance. Seeing the flowers on the street, he refused to speak. The bottom of the South Crane's eyes crossed a bit of secluded color. "Princess, it's hard to avoid that maidservants and concubines are boring in the mansion all day long. Why don't you go to Wujuan for so long? Why don't you tell them what you've seen and heard in Wujuan?" The hand that Mo Shanghua lightly grasped chopsticks this just tiny done come down. The eyes of calm have no wave fall on South Crane body. That really lets South G disappointed. This imperial concubine has been working hard for a whole day, really tired tight. Now just want to have a good meal well after going back to have good rest. Nana's face was slightly stiff for a moment, and then he was quickly replaced by an eye full of apologies. Why did the princess say this? It's because the maid and concubine didn't think about it carefully. They forgot that the princess just came back. "Look, sister, what I said before." Pingji's eyes were a bit ironic, and her tone was rather strange. "Although I haven't seen her for more than a month, the little hoof is still the same as before, with sharp teeth and sharp mouth. I'm curious. What's the point?" "Never thought." South Crane has not answered. Have been to a few people love to answer. Ignore Mo Shanghua suddenly put down the bowl chopsticks. Mao Guang curious cast over. Pingji's face suddenly changed, and she secretly scolded herself for being so quick. However, Mo Shanghua's eyes were still with her, so she had to explain, "But it's just my maid and concubine who discussed with Nanmei before. When we welcome you back, we'll go back earlier so as not to disturb the princess. It's not a big deal." It seems that there is nothing wrong with this answer, but it is a big pot for Nan He, implying that she is not sensible. Pingji is fawning on Nana recently. Now she has said such words under her own protection, and her heart is both regret and hate. In this way, how can Nana take care of her in the future? But did not think South Crane smell speech, then Wu from get up, toward Imo up flower blessing body plead guilty. Say, all is maidservant concubine. Don't understand rules. Also hope princess don't want with maidservant concubine care. Nanji's words are very important. But what's the matter of sesame size? Mo Shanghua eyebrow. I does not move. Still be Enron if the state of plain. Poor as Pingji. This likes to chew the root of the tongue's fault or not to change. Pingji face a green. Corners of the mouth are stiff down. Maidservant concubine has always been straightforward. There should be a degree to be frank. If you offend a noble person one day, the Lord will not be able to save you. Mo Shanghua thought that Pingji had been living a peaceful life in the mansion for more than a month. So she took on her face and spoke a few words in a low voice. "Yes, I will never do it again." Pingji eyes across a touch of hate color, but also dare not refute, had to bow to admit. After all, the identity of Mo Shanghua's main room is still there, and the Lord is not in the house. If he offends her now, I'm afraid he will disappear in the house without waiting for the Lord to come back. I'll have it. Do as you like. Mo Shanghua picks up the handkerchief and lightly wipes the lip flap. She goes around the desk and gets up to leave. To the princess, Chinya follows Mo Shanghua. Remembering Pingji's appearance, she can't help turning her lips. Pingji had learned so many lessons from the princess before, but now she doesn't have a long memory. The princess should punish her well, and she'd dare to talk in the future. Mo Shanghua steps down, turns to look at Qinya, light mouth. I just returned to the house. There are many things to do, where there is time with her more gas. But as you can see, princess, she is with Mrs. Nan. Nan's wife is gentle and virtuous, but she always feels that her decision is not so simple, and she certainly has no good intentions. If they're allowed to form a line, it will be impossible in the future. Thinking of the situation just now, Chinya's eyebrows can't help frowning tightly, and the corners of her mouth are bigger. Thinking of Nana's words and deeds, he could not help but feel a sense of temptation, and his eyes became more and more deep. This person really needs more attention. Her red lips light, open, eyes deep color, can't see what to think. With that, he walked straight away. Chinya still nodded in the same place. Seeing that the flowers on the street suddenly left, she quickly followed up. In front of the courtyard corridor of the dock, Mo Shanghua suddenly stops and stands behind a pillar. Chinya is confused. Mo Shanghua pulls her over again and makes a hissing gesture to her. Then Chinya notices that in front of the two flower beds under the corridor, the voices of the two maidservants talking are clearly coming into her ears. The two maidservants took care of the flowers and plants in the corridor. They were still restless and could not help complaining to each other. As soon as the princess came back, she ordered so much work. Today, she has been working all day. I'm really tired. Yes, why did she have to come back to us to find fault? When she's away, Mrs. Nan turns a blind eye to us all. There are many rewards on weekdays, but she's gone as soon as she comes back. It's really annoying. Mrs. Nan has always been kind to people. She's fierce and jealous, but she won't have a good life in the future. Two people are you a word, a language of say, speak words, also completely don't care about, like the slightest fear of being heard by others in general. Mo Shanghua hears others talking about herself behind her back like this. She doesn't see any anger on her face, but her eyes are slightly coagulated. She seems to be thinking about something. Chinya's ears were deaf, so she couldn't hear anyone else's words. She couldn't help asking in a low voice, "Princess, what are they talking about? Is it something ugly?" The color of thinking in the flower eyes on the street is not reduced. I lightly click my lower jaw and walk away. The two maidservants saw the flowers on the street quietly passing by, and they were so scared that they turned pale. They bent down and knelt down to say hello. And Mo Shanghua didn't even look at them. She just passed them and went back to her bedroom. They were just waiting for a breath of relief when Qinya stopped for a moment and said mercilessly, "You two are doing twice as much work today, but you can be careful. You will never be so simple when you are chewing your tongue." Two people just relaxed a breath. At this time the body is to shake again, but have to bend over to answer next. Qinya has no good spirit of glancing at two people a record. This just hurriedly follow Mo Shanghua and go. Until the bedroom, Mo Shanghua stopped and sat down in front of the table. His right hand habitually tapped on the table, as if thinking, "You don't have to worry about these maidservants, princess." Qinya didn't know what they had said. She was afraid that it was too much. After thinking about it, she was relieved. The flowers on the street did not open their mouth, and the faint light floating in their eyes was like a dark star. The bright stars in the sky were very beautiful, but they seemed to hide something which made people not really see. After thinking about this for a moment, I saw her gently raise her chin, and the ink in her eyes suddenly closed. "Qinya, go to find out the trend of the city managers in recent days, especially the contact with whom. Why is the princess so nervous all of a sudden? In principle, you have calmed down the chaos in Wujuan. They should have nothing to say at this time, and bow their heads. Qinya tilts her head slightly, and her eyes are a little puzzled. Mo Shanghua took the simple hand that tapped on the table, and a cool color passed between her eyebrows. "I've been gone for more than a month. I'm afraid that instead of convincing them, I'm going to make their hearts even wilder." After a pause, she added, "By the way, I'll find out what the people in the courtyards say and ask Nanhi more." "Yes, I will go now. Qin, you'll listen to Mo, Shanghua. So say, in the heart also understand a few minutes. Shoulda will immediately do." Wait a minute. Chinya hasn't come to the door yet. The flower on the street suddenly raises a voice and stops her. Seeing that Chinya was full of doubts, Mo, Shanghua got up and walked slowly in front of her. Her eyes were bright. "I didn't think about it just now. Now I think it's not feasible. Go back and have a rest. Don't worry about it anymore." Chinya wanted to say something, but she didn't want to rest when she thought about herself. But Mo Shanghua always wanted to rest, and she always had her own reason in doing things, so she swallowed the words again, accepted them, and went on. In the next few days, in the name of having a good rest, Mo Shanghua neither summoned the city managers nor asked the concubines to come and say hello. Even Nanhi was blocked by her several times, as if she really needed a good rest. Pingji and others are also idle, at the moment can't see flowers on the street, then a swarm of bees all drill to the south crane here. "Sister, what's the matter with the princess these days?" As soon as she got back to the palace, she locked herself up like this. No one saw her. Pingji slightly frowned and asked questions casually. Before Nanha spoke, a concubine room could not help but snort with a sarcastic tone. "Our concubines are from the imperial city, and they are very proud. They don't take us concubines seriously. Since we entered the palace, we have always been like this. Has Sister Pingji not adapted? Or did you remember yesterday's reprimand of Sister Pingji?" Pingji's face flashed a little annoyed. "I don't have a lesson. What's the matter with you? And I'm asking Sister Nan, what do you mean? I don't want to think about my own identity, but I dare to do so. I can see that this is a confusion of dignity and inferiority." The woman suddenly choked, and her face was blue and white. She was not angry, but she couldn't refute. She's just an ordinary concubine, but Nanha is not only favored by the king, but also a higher concubine than her. And before he left, he personally ordered him to give Nanha the right to be the steward of the house. That is to say, he had the right to share equally with the stranger. South Crane has just been cheating to watch. Now see this scene. This is not salty gentle mouth. We are all sisters, but also serve the Lord together, where there is no respect or inferiority. Seeing that the two men's faces had softened a little, she then said, "The princess has been in a lot of trouble. She has been in the riot place of Wujuan for so long, and she is tired. When the princess has recovered, she will surely summon us. Don't worry, sister." Pingji's eyes crossed the color of calculation, pondered for a while, and said, "If you really want to say it, it's not this that matters. However, as you know, when the princess was in charge of the house, the maids and concubines didn't dare to breathe. But these days we are very happy. Now she's back. If the power of the housekeeper falls back to her, then aren't we?" As soon as the voice fell, the remaining two concubines frowned and agreed with each other. Nana's pretty willow eyebrows frowned slightly, and he was a bit embarrassed. "My sisters also know that I'm just a temporary housekeeper. Since the princess is back, I shouldn't be greedy." Seeing that she refused to play, Pingji couldn't help saying, "Sister, the Lord hasn't come back yet. Why are you so anxious for a while?" The South Crane's eyebrow is frowning more tightly. The Mao color Ying is light to flash, erratic, seemed to be in a dilemma to the extreme. When Pingji saw this, she was very happy. She grabbed Nana's hand and struck while the iron was hot. "Sister, you were for your sister and for the girls and boys in the house. We had a bad life. But if the whole family had a bad life, how could you bear it?" With that, she turned her head and winked at the other two concubines. The other two people see this. Busy also followed to persuade. Nana stirred the brocade handkerchief lightly, and his eyes were full of struggling color. After pondering for a long time, he just sighed, "Elder sisters, I entered the mansion the latest, and I have the least qualifications. It's reasonable that I shouldn't be in charge of the housekeeper for a long time. But when all the elder sisters ask for such a surrender, she can only put it off for a while. When the Lord comes back, she will return the power of the housekeeper. Pingji eyebrows immediately deep wrinkle, eyes across a bit unhappy. Just for a moment. How could she do it? What she wants is to let that bitch never meet this, right? But elder sister need not say, this power originally shouldn't be my younger sister to control. I really dare not too much greedy. The South Crane flicks Pingji's hand away, full of firm color. Pingji thought that Nanha was soft-tempered and would agree, but she never thought that she was so stubborn. Thinking that she couldn't be too quick, she had to stop for a while and said yes. It was not until she got out of Nanha's yard that her face sank down. She said in a hateful voice, I thought this little hoof was soft and shallow, so it would be easier to handle. But now it is more promising, just like that slut. Seeing this, Green Sun quickly comforted her. Madam, why do you want to be angry with this little hoof? When you find a chance in the future, you just want to catch her with that bitch. At that time, they will never dare to be so arrogant. Luer's words went straight to Pingji's heart. Her face softened a little, and she snorted, What I'm saying is that at that time, I'll make sure these two bitches can't survive or die. The Nanha in the house, seeing that all the people in the house had gone away, wiped Ying's hands carefully with a brocade handkerchief until every finger had wiped it. Then he threw the handkerchief at Yuaner, and his eyes were a little disgusted. Throw this handkerchief away. Yuaner and Nan, he have been together for a long time. He knows that Nan he is proud of himself. He busily puts away his handkerchief and goes down to work. The South Crane micro raised a jaw, and the eye once delimited a few points of the color of ridicule. A gang of idiots. I thought how powerful the women in the back house could be. They were all big-chested and brainless. Thinking about it, she suddenly did it, went around to the inner room, closed the door, then went to the window, folded her hands, put them on her lips, and whistled. As soon as he took back his hand, a man dressed in a dark guard in black rushed in from the window. When he saw Nanha, his expressionless face showed his affection. Sister Nanha, what's the matter with me? How are things going with the Lord? South Crane, also different or nonsense. Complexion coldly spit out a word. Darkway shook his head. I don't know the details, but I heard that the things over there are a little tricky, and I can't deal with them in a short time. And there's no other news? The South Crane mouth bottom passes a color of worry. Palm slightly some subconscious tighten a few minutes. The dark guard lowered his voice and comforted. The Lord has always been good for people and nature, and will surely return as soon as possible. Sister Nanha, don't care more about it. Your task now is to guard the palace and pay attention to the things in Yujo City. I know. You go. The South Crane's face was cold for a few minutes, and he gave the order directly. When the man saw this, he didn't ask for nothing. His figure disappeared in a flash. The South Crane's eyes were even colder, and it was a bit gloomy. On the surface, these people are all loyal to the Lord just like her, but it's really hateful for her to be so careless when she mentions problems related to the Lord. Well, with the strength of the Lord, it's really impossible for anything to happen. When she thought about this, she might as well think about how to bring down the so-called princess before the Lord came back. Since the day that the woman came back, although she didn't ask anything, her intuition had clearly told her that the Lord decided to treat the woman differently. She won't keep any woman who can win the Lord's eye. Princess, here comes the city management. Chinya enters the hall and whispers in the ear of Mo Shanghua. Thankfully, after several days of silence, the princess of her family finally thought of these people and sent her to invite them this morning. Have tea served and invite them in. The flower on the road just slightly raises eyes, light mouth. Yes. Before long, several stewards came in one after another, and Chinya ordered people to serve tea one by one. The flower in the street saw that several people were sitting down, so she put the account book collected in Wuju on the table and said, Thanks to you, my trip to Wujuan not only took back all the accounts, but also found out a lot of things that Wujuan had committed, which removed a big disaster for the people. It can be said that I've gained a lot. Once this is said, the room is quiet. Seeing that no one dares to answer, the flowers on the street don't feel embarrassed. As if nothing happened, they continue to say, "Do you want to see for yourself? Is there any mistake in this account book? Jiang is in charge. Would you like to come first?" Jiang Shi was suddenly named. He was confused for a moment. Then he stood up and said with a smile, "This account was collected by the princess herself. How can it be false? I dare not doubt it. If only you knew." Qingya did not have the good spirit to hum lightly. However, her voice was falling, and Jiang Shi suddenly changed his tone, and his face was full of doubts. I'm stupid. I don't know what happened when the princess called me here today." The flower on the street was holding a celadon teacup, and her eyes were drooping gently, brushing the tobacco foam in the cup. Since I continued to discuss the matter before I went to Wujuan, I have been discussing it all the time. Is the princess joking? Jiang Shi's eyes were a bit ironic, and his tone was a bit disrespectful. Before the princess went to Wujuan, the prince really gave you the power to take charge of the mansion. However, since you left with the Lord gave the right to Mrs. Nan. The slaves did not dare to go against the meaning of the Lord. That is to discuss, and it is Mrs. Nan who asked us to go. The others all looked like this. Only Zhang, he sat at the bottom of the table, silent. Mo Shanghua's hands moved quickly. There was a chill in his eyes. How? Do you misinterpret the meaning of the Lord like this? Don't you all forget that the king's edict before leaving is something in Tonanji's temporary residence? Now that I'm back from the main room, it's time for me to return it. Jiang Shi looked at his nose and his heart with his eyes, but he could not understand. I'm a stupid slave. I can't understand these crooked slaves. But if the princess really wants to take back her rights, she should take the princess's gold seal to find Nanfu. Seeing this, another steward echoed. All in all, these are matters in the inner courtyard of the deep house, but the slaves can't interfere. We'd better wait for the princess to negotiate with Mrs. Nan and come to negotiate with us. What you mean is that you only know Mrs. Nan and I don't know my princess. When the flower eyes on the street are neutral, they die a touch of anger. It seems that they are already in a hurry. However, at the bottom of the dark eyes, they're still dead and silent for thousands of years. Qingya's face flushed with anger. She was already very angry. Do you know it's a crime of disrespect? The servants are just acting according to the instructions of the Lord. How can they be guilty of disrespect? Jiang Shi's retort, which was not smiling, flashed some satisfaction at the bottom of his eyes. There are still many chores in the slave shop. I'll leave first. Say also don't wait for Mo Shanghua to respond. Several people then leave one after another. Zhang He hesitated for a moment, followed the three people behind him, saluted the flowers respectfully, and then left. Mo Shanghua, Mao Guang swept quietly on Zhang He's body. When everyone was gone, he narrowed his eyes dangerously. Sure, Qingya at this time also received angry face. Sad looking at the flowers. Princess, what can I do? What to do? The flower on the street asked in a soft voice. The dark light was shining in the dark pupil, and the beautiful cheek was cold. Naturally, I'm going to ask for a crime. Why did the princess come suddenly? I hope the princess will forgive me if I miss you. South Crane steps to the front of Mo Shanghua and bows to her Ying. Pardon? How dare I? Unexpectedly, the flower's face is suddenly cold, and the voice also contains some frost. South Crane is young, seem to have no reaction to come over for a long time, just full face, don't understand of lift Mao. Princess, how to say this? Even so, Mo Shanghua didn't call her up. She didn't move, still maintained the posture of kneeling just now. Mo Shanghua glanced at Qingya beside him. Qingya knew what was going on, so she stepped forward and said, Lady Nan is the only one in the palace who is willing to tell you something. But it's not moving. Lady Nan thinks that how can the princess not be angry? This. South Crane willow eyebrows, shallow frown up. Voice is still gentle and soft. Girl, this words is to break evil me. Maidservant concubine is just temporarily in charge of the affairs of the house. How dare to instigate the people in the house to treat the princess disrespectful. This must be some misunderstanding in them. Also hope the princess to check. The more she said that, the colder the flowers on the street looked. When she finished speaking, it had dropped to the freezing point. You dare not. It doesn't mean that the people in the house dare not. The princess is not here for more than a month. You are in charge of the whole palace. Before I left, the servants in this house were respectful and polite to the master. But now I just came back, they all learned to talk about the princess behind my back. It can be seen that, Nanji, you have indeed disciplined the 5 sides in these days and connived at all the servants. Nana just found out that Mo Shanghua had been shut down by several stewards. She thought that she had to make a big deal out of those stewards when she came to trouble her. She even thought about the wording, but did not think Mo Shanghua actually is from this aspect to start directly down. It seems that this woman really has some skills. Otherwise, the Lord will not pay more attention to her. Thinking about it quickly in his mind, then he narrowed his eyes slightly and looked aggrieved. Girls and boys love to chew their tongue. They have been there since ancient times. Even in the imperial palace, there are many people with such broken mouths. How can they completely eliminate it? The princess didn't see it before, but now she can see it. It's just a matter of chance. After a pause, she said, although the maidservant concubines have treated them mildly these days, it's only a month, and they definitely won't be presumptuous. That's it. Mo Shanghua was silent for a moment. She stared at the crane kneeling for a while and said, even so, do you know what those girls are talking about? The South Crane eyebrow heartbeat to jump, immediately weigh. No matter what, also all but pass on the wrong, some mixed words just don't be true. A good one is not true. In the flower eyes of the street, there was a slight sneer, but I'm a careful person. I always prefer to believe this kind of words, but I don't believe it. After listening to it, I will hover in my heart all the time. If I don't spit it out, I can't eat and sleep at night. I hope the princess makes it clear. So far, South Crane, on the contrary, some can't see through the real purpose of Mo Shanghua, but the eye is still half assent panic, also have no, simply ask out. The South Crane's drooping eyebrows and eyes were a little dark. It seemed that he thought of something. He quietly glanced at Yuan kneeling behind him. The round son immediately nodded, quietly toward the door of the maid with mouth command down. The maid, busy, quietly backed down. Mo Shanghua doesn't seem to see her action. She picks her eyebrows slightly. Chinya on one side immediately understands her and says, don't you know Mrs. Nan? Now all the people in the palace respect their wives. Even the real hostess of the palace is about to forget who she is, and you can almost hear such words everywhere. If it's because of chance, then we princess are really lucky. Chance is a word that she deliberately accentuates with obvious meaning. Nanha looked up at the flowers on the street with a look of fear on his face. I've been keeping my books for a month, and I've been taking care of things in the house. I really don't know where these rumors come from. Mo Shanghua taps on the table with a slight rhythm, with a light look. Naturally, you start to be in power. If you're really scared, you should know how to do it. Sure enough, this is the ultimate goal. Nanha sneered in his heart, but he pretended to be puzzled. He hung his head and thought for a while. He said, I'll order people to clean up the whole house and severely punish those who chew their tongue and break the rules of the palace. It seems that Mrs. Nan still doesn't understand. In this way, the princess will make things clear. The cold light in the flower eyes on the street suddenly flashed, and his voice was clear and cold, as if, the things that the Lord told you before he left, now it's time to return them. Yo, what's the matter with Name? She's so pathetic and kneeling on the ground. Before Nanha spoke, Pingji came in with a surprised face and then gave a gift to Huafu. In his eyes, he didn't seem to see Pingji. He still said, first of all, I have a lot of things to deal with before I leave. I need to continue to deal with them, but now they're like servants in the same house. They only know you, Mrs. Nan, but they don't know the princess. Second, since you indulge your servants here, it's time for the princess to rectify the atmosphere in the mansion. It's easy to win people's hearts, but it's more difficult to buy the city management than the servants. Previously, she even didn't buy her account. If Nanny didn't really work hard, he would never let them turn around one after another, which shows his ambition. Since Nana dares to cut off her who, it's natural for her to take it back. Nana's feather fan like long eyelashes flashed slightly, but her face was not arrogant. I understand the princess's predicament now, but I'm afraid that I'll take charge of the affairs in the palace at the command of the Lord. Now the Lord is not returned, so I dare not suddenly drop my duty. Yes, princess, you don't know the temperament of the prince. If he comes back to know that Nan Mei is slack off her job, I'm afraid he will directly blame him. Pingji pressure in the heart by the stranger flower ignored anger. Pull the corner of the mouth, full face of virtuous and virtuous state. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and glared at Pingji. It was clear that Pingji was standing while she was sitting upright. However, she had a kind of calm quality and never lost in momentum. There are many good sisters around Pingji. She used to be Yunji, but now she is so close to Nanji, who has just entered the government. She is really a smart person. I just don't know. Has Pingji ever seen Yunji during this time? I heard that she seems to have gone crazy. If you go to see more, maybe you can cure her. Pingji's face was slightly green, and some strange color flashed in her eyes. For a moment, she didn't know how to deal with it, so she could only shut up temporarily, because she knew that it was not only ironic, but also a kind of warning. Yunji's fate, she had seen with her own eyes. I've heard something about Sister Yin, but I'm just taking the blame. Sister Ping doesn't have to be too sad. Nanha was very considerate. In the middle of his words, he turned the topic back. In other words, Sister Ping's words are not unreasonable. I also asked the princess to understand the difficulties of my maid and concubine. Pingji at this time also eased over, a hand tightly clenched into a fist. Tone also can't help but with a bit of gunpowder. Yes, princess, why do you want to force others to do so? Mo Shanghua stares at the two people who cooperate with each other. For a long time, she doesn't speak. Just when they think Mo Shanghua really has nothing to say, she takes out an envelope, takes out the letter paper, and gives it to Chinya. Since you two must say that the princess is hard for her, then I have to really hard for her. Pingji's face is puzzled. Nana stares at the letter sent to him by Chinya. His heart jumps fiercely. There is an ominous premonition rising slowly along the soles of his feet. Sure enough, after she read the contents of the letter, her eyes suddenly flashed, and her face was surprised. Pingji looked curious, but also rushed to have a look. Her face is also extremely shocked, and then continued to become green and white up. The letter was not written by others, but by Yin Beiqing himself. It pointed out that after Mo Shanghua returned to his house, he would let Nan return the power to Mo Shanghua. But Mo Shanghua looked at the two people's facial expression change. The light in the eye once crossed a few sarcastic color. How? This is also the king's order. You can also disobey? It turns out that although Mo Shanghua has been staying at home these days, she has been quietly exploring the situation in the house herself, and no one has ever found out. Moreover, she is just giving those managers the chance. But obviously, they don't cherish it. And she came to find Nanha, including with her for so long, but also just to test. Now the goal is achieved. Naturally, there is no need to continue to consume. That's right. They didn't open their mouth, but they didn't affect the mood of Mo Shanghua at all. They were still in an easy state. Is this Palm Mansion gold seal presented by yourself? Or do I send someone to take it myself? After a while, Nanhe regained his mind and quickly accepted the matter. Just as he wanted to speak, Pingji could not help but whispered, "How can this thing suddenly appear? Who knows if it is true or false? Fool! It will only drag her down in the end." Nanha scolds in his heart, but he pulls Pingji's robe quietly and then bows his head respectfully. Since there is a letter from the Lord, I should follow what the Lord says. You honor, go and get the gold seal and literature. Yes, Round Sun should be next. Not long, then carried a tray to come up, respectfully presented to the front of the flower. The flower on the street was taken over by Chinya, and then she didn't want to stay for a long time. She stood up and walked to Nanji. When she came to Nanji, she said in a soft voice, "You are most favored in ordinary times, and you are trusted by the Lord. If there is anything you don't want to tell you in the future, don't be arrogant because you spoil the etiquette and make others unhappy, and you are also unhappy." Speaking, she looked at the South Crane quietly, clearly saw a very thin anger in her eyes, and immediately closed her eyes, smiling, "I am taught." The color of Flower Eyes on the street is deep for a few times, and then I don't look at her anymore, so I turn around and leave. The Imperial City, the Emperor, the secret newspaper of Yuzhou. The man in the palace knelt down respectfully in front of the middle-aged man in the Ming Emperor's dragon robe and raised an envelope in his hands. The man who was called the Emperor turned around, took the secret newspaper, opened it, and looked at it carefully. His eyes were more and more dignified. The letter said, "King Yu dotes on his concubine, as usual. When Princess Yu went to January, King Yu abolished a concubine and Zhang Wan for her. In February, he went to Wujuan with King Yu to calm down the merchants who did not sell grain, and the people were rioting. After Zhang Wan's defeat, he fought against him and ran away without a trace. 5 days before he left, the Wujuan were blocked. I don't know what happened. When the city gate opened, the Wujuan sheriff Jiang Wu was cut down for committing several crimes, and all the officials of Wujuan were changed. In addition, Qian Lin, a wealthy businessman in Wujuan, was also accepted by him. Go and send someone to find out what happened in those days when Wujuan blockaded, as well as the details of those who trusted the officials. I'll find out all about them." The emperor didn't make any waves on his face. He just scratched a little deep in his eyes and threw the secret newspaper on the table. "Yes, I'll send someone to do it. Palace people should be under, keep etiquette, respectfully back down." The emperor turned and looked at the many memorials that had not been dealt with on the table behind him. His mind moved, and his eyes turned to the eunuch standing next to the case. "Look for the fold that Yuzhou sent recently." "Yes." Eunuch should be down, busy to the case, carefully looking up. After a while, the eunuch went to the emperor and said, "Back to the emperor. Yuzhou has not played a memorial recently." "Hi, His Royal Highness King, you has always been used to playing around. This memorial is always available today. It would be strange if he sent it on time every day." The emperor didn't answer, and his eyes crossed some dark colors that others couldn't understand, as if he trusted the eunuch's statement. Only he knew that it was not easy. It is not impossible for that woman to get out of the trap of the imperial city and grow up. Qinya poured a cup of tea for Imo Shanghua, pushed her in front of Imo Shanghua, and said with a smile, "I knew that the princess would not easily suffer losses. Now she has the power to control the house. Tomorrow, she must clean up Jiang Xin as well." Jiang Shi was insidious and cunning, and he was such a wall grass that he could not easily get around. Although the flowers on the street follow such words, they look light and don't see any emotional fluctuations. The voice falls. She's about to carry Qinya just to brew good tea. Mao Guang Shu of Ji, the action in the hand, also stopped down. There was a folded paper under the teacup. Because Qinya had just pushed it, it showed a corner. "What is this?" Qinya obviously didn't expect that. She took the teacup and took out the paper. In the past, except for Qinya, the maids beside her were not allowed to come in. Even Qinya didn't know. Who mixed in and put this piece of paper? Imo Shanghua, thinking in her mind, took the paper from Qinya and opened it. All the paper is just about the size of a palm. There is only a short line on it, which says, "I will be in Chenghuan Pavilion for a while." The handwriting seems to have seen it somewhere. Imo Shanghua plans to pass a few minutes to think. She Wu from Hangmao to think a long time just suddenly think of. When she was in Wujuan County, she and Hua Qianlu lived together in the grain shop for some time. She also saw Hua Qianliu's handwriting. The handwriting on the note in front of her was exactly the same as Hua Qianliu's. If the note is put quietly by Hua Qianlu, it makes sense. Thinking about this, the eyebrows of the flowers on the street are also stretched out. They burn the note and turn their eyes to look at Qinya. "Qinya, Go get a suit of men's clothes. Princess, are you going to the appointment? Can you bring Chinya with you? Seeing this, Chinya grabs the sleeves of flowers on the street, blinks her eyes, and looks worried. I'm just going to see my old friend. Nothing serious will happen. You can stay in the mansion for a rainy day. Mo Shang Flower lightly swept Chinya one eye, thought, still patiently explained. Chinya saw that there was a certain firmness in her eyes and listened to what she said. Her mind stopped a little. Nuon answered and went down. Waiting for Chinya to prepare the men's clothes, Mo Shanghua tried it in person and then saw that the time was almost up and quietly climbed out of the wall. As everyone knows, she came out of the scene over the wall and bumped into the eyes of Nanhe. Nanha is a little surprised and suspicious about the event of Mozhang Huahui's martial arts. After thinking about it, he simply takes Yuaner and others away. He also shows his body method and follows them out. Nana had been under Yin Beicheng for many years, and he was already independent enough, not to mention his lightness skill. Now, tracking in the street behind the flowers, but also by the people on the street cover, flowers on the street for a while also did not find. Mo Shanghua walked all the way through the street. When she was about to travel half the distance, she suddenly realized that there was a line of sight behind her, which crossed the crowd and locked on her. Although he found that it was not right, Mo Shanghua did not stop at his feet. He just quickened his body method and turned left and right, but Nanhe didn't catch up. He was really thrown away. She didn't dare to think that now that she had come out and lost the flowers, she might as well go to Chenghuan Pavilion to see if she could get some useful information from Hui Qianliu, who knows not to Chenghuan Pavilion door. Far away we'll see a man dressed on the street into the Chenghuan Pavilion. It's true that no book can be made without coincidence. The South Crane lips cape tiny hook in the mouth light vomit a word, then also busy followed to go in. Mo Shanghua just entered Chenghuan Pavilion. A maid dressed up came up to her and said, "It's Mo girl." The flower on the street sweeps the maid's eyes. Seeing that the maid's eyebrows are low and her manners are complete, she is totally different from the bustard she met when she first came here. She knows in her heart that this person is probably the one who is spending more money to serve. Think of this. Mo Shanghua heart silently to the taste of flower willow hit a high score, delicate jaw light point. Girl, please follow me. Maidservant CMO Shanghua point head, then toward the side let Mo Shanghua walk in front. The flower on the street is not coy, even when she walks forward with her maidservants way out of the way. Under the guide of the maid, she went directly to a VIP room on the 3rd floor. When she arrived, the maid withdrew. The flower on the street pushed open the door and saw the flower willow sitting at the table with a few dishes and 2 pots of wine on the table. And he himself was drinking and drinking with great pleasure. His blue robe was loose on his body, and he looked like a dandy. The lord of the pavilion called me to have a drink. The flower path on the street is opposite to the flower willow. Mo Shanghua raised his eyes and looked at Mo Shanghua. At this, the fox's eyes suddenly couldn't help crossing a few different colors. Today, she wore a white robe. Because of her delicate figure, the robe looked very loose, but because of her meticulous hair crown, she didn't show half romantic. She only took advantage of her small and delicate face. She looked like a white-faced scholar, especially handsome and elegant. I haven't seen it in the past. Now I see that Xiaoma is so handsome with this man's dress. Flower thousand willow eyes in a different color, but flash away in a flash and then hang up the usual ridicule smile. Tut tut. Fortunately, you came to be let up. If let you stay below for a while, I'm afraid the girls of Chenghuan Pavilion will bow down under your robe. Bow down. The flowers in the street also relaxed a little, and the ruddy lips picked a little. All the girls in Chenghuan Pavilion have unique skills. If that's the case, I've got a big help. Isn't it beautiful? Flower thousand willow lips angle smile expanded a few minutes. Mao Guangyu of looking at her. Small Mo flower is always shrewd. Such business this child can't do with you. The petals of the flowers on the street were lifted lightly, and the flowers and willows were smiling. The pavilion leader is a businessman, so he should be much more shrewd than me. Let's get down to business. The pavilion leader asked me to come here quietly. What's the matter? Nature is a priority. Hua Qianlu put down the wine cup in his hand, turned to pick up the folding fan, and then knocked in his palm. What you and Brother Beicheng did in Wujuan is too noisy. I have received the information, and someone has already sent it to the imperial city. It is estimated that the secret letter has been sent to the emperor. So fast, the radiant of the lips of the flowers on the road is immediately smoothed, and the water eyes are stained with a dark color. How can people in the imperial city be vegetarian? Hua Qianlu shook his head in a funny way and said, I'm afraid you can't give a reasonable explanation for the way that Brother Beicheng eats, drinks, and plays all day long. As he gets the princess, I'm afraid you can't give an explanation. The flower in the street gazed and thought about it. On her delicate cheek, she said, Let me think about it. Yin Beicheng nodded, temporarily closed the folding fan, picked up an empty cup, poured a glass of wine for Mo Shanghua, and said with a smile, Don't worry, first warm up. This body is comfortable, just want to deal with it. Mo Shanghua nodded, holding the cup in one hand, but he didn't drink it. The look in his eyes was clear and changing. After a long time, she suddenly raised her eyes, and her voice was a little deep. Why don't you let the Lord write a memorial and start with the matter of the grain merchant mob in Wujuan? Jiang Wu's dereliction of duty and several conflicts with me made me and the Lord unhappy. After a thorough investigation, we found that this man had many crimes and other officials in Wujuan were involved with him, so we had to get rid of them. After a pause, she said, I have made the prince unhappy by mentioning Jiang Wu's collision in my words. It's better to write in detail without missing a word. I'll reply to the letter in the memorial and ask the emperor to forgive me. At this point, she couldn't think of any other way. If she couldn't, she could only do so. If it's right, the emperor will not punish them, but should reward them. If it's wrong, at most, she will be retired and become an ordinary person. That may not be the worst. Now that she has the wealth of Wujuan, she will become an ordinary person and will not lose much. Flower thousand willow, eyebrow tip tiny pick. The smile in the eye faded a few minutes. Do you really decide to do this disaster water? Do you know what the consequences will be? I know, but if the emperor finds out that Yin Beicheng is not a real dandy, I'm afraid the consequences will be more serious. Mo Shang flower coagulated a face to nod, mouth bottom a pure and clear. Besides, I help him so, from half condition. You know that. At the moment, the smile in the eyes of flower thousand willows completely subsided and looked at the flowers on the street. Yes, Mo Shanghua doesn't want to be a fool. She simply admits that after a pause, she says, I've been with him for more than 2 months. Besides, he doesn't have no loopholes. I'll know sooner or later, but it's a matter of time. Flower thousand willow eyes full of surprise, and then seems to want to open, can't help but laugh. Brother Beicheng, you really met the killer. The flowers on the street pursed their lips without words. But she thought that if Hua Qianlu knew, she would be even more surprised if she knew that the cloakman and Yin Beicheng were the same person. Hua Qianlu didn't know what she was thinking. She drank another cup of wine, and then she took out a bright yellow memorial from her sleeve and pushed it to Mo Shanghua. You might as well have a look at this first. Is Yinbei city ready? Mo Shanghua's heart fretted, picked up the memorial, and looked at it carefully. This memorial was written by Yin Beicheng himself. The content and the tone of his speech are exactly the same as what he usually shows outside. All the words are accusing Jiang Wu of his guilt, but they all start from small things. For example, when they arrived in Wujuan, Jiang Wu did not come out to meet them. When they lived in Jiang Wu's house, they were often slighted and disrespectful to the princess. Then I went to the main topic, but it was just a brushstroke. Between the lines, I could feel how willful and reckless the person who wrote this memorial was. He didn't blacken the flowers on the street, and couldn't see the evil gesture of the flowers on the street. The flowers on the road will play the chapter together, and the eyebrows suddenly frown. Without waiting for her to ask, Hua Qianlu opened the folding fan in her hand, and her tone was relaxed. This is the style of King Yu. With his understatement, the frowning brows of flowers on the street slowly spread out, and the beautiful eyes turned a little different. Yes, Hua Qianlu is right. Yin Beicheng is Yin Beicheng. He is not only an idle prince, but also a romantic and willful dandy. The emperor must know about it. If he really hated these things, it would be possible for him to get rid of Jiang Wu and decapitate him in the end. In this way, at the same time, it is more reliable to spread some news outside Wujuan. The confused color between the eyebrows and eyes on the street just dispersed. However, when she thought that she was smart today, she frowned again. Beauty frowns, but it doesn't look good. Yin Beicheng shakes a folding fan, and his face is full of sighs. Mo Shanghua raised her eyes and looked at him. Her beautiful eyes flashed slightly, and then she was as calm as water. That's right. Hua Qianlu seemed to think of something, and her smile faded a lot. I heard that you have encountered some trouble in the government these 2 days, and those managers are not very obedient. And Nanha, she seems to have some conflicts with you. The information of the cabinet leader is really quick. Nothing can escape your eyes. The flower eye color on the street is so familiar that the meaning is unknown. Hua Qianlu touched his nose and looked innocent. I don't want to take care of your inner house, but Brother Beicheng is not here. I have been with him for many years, so I have to take good care of him. Mo Shanghua turned her head and said, Don't worry, my lord. No one can hurt me in my position. She never likes to be watched, but now Hua Qianlu quietly sends people to pay attention to her. How can she be happy? After saying this, she stood up and said, I can't go out for long. If the Lord doesn't have anything else to do, I'll go back first and say goodbye. Flower Willow looked at the empty face in the hands of the folding fan this slowly away toward the empty room, slightly young voice, Come in. After a long time, the black silhouette outside the window suddenly flashed. Then, the carved wooden door in front of us was opened from the outside, and the woman in a water lotus-colored dress came in with her hands folded in front of her chest. The beauty of the woman's eyes, like cherry red lips tightly pursed, usually gentle and dignified at this time, reduced by most, only a few points from the bones of the proud. It's you. Hua Qianlu picked her eyebrows, but there was no surprise in her eyes. It seemed that she was not surprised. It's a coincidence that Xiaoma Hua just left and you came. Nanha, what are you doing here today? But I miss you so much. I'm really joking. The gloom at the bottom of the South Crane's eyes was covered in an instant, and he sat down in front of him, not mentioning the flowers in the street. The young master is a very clever man. I think he knows very well why I'm here today. Easy to say, easy to say. Hua Qianlu did not modestly answer, but then the front of the conversation turned slightly. However, although I'm extremely clever, I won't reveal when you come here. I'm afraid I can't guess how smart I am. Nenny's white hands can't help pinching his sleeve, and his chest overflows with anger. Then he has been here for several times, and the reason for each time is not the same. If he can't remember, Nan, he will explain it directly. After a pause, she said, I heard that the Lord had to deal with something at the border. The border has always been chaotic, and the sword is shining. Young master, you're always in close contact with the Lord. I don't know how the Lord is doing. Are you hurt? Hua Qianlu opened the folding fan again and shook it in his hand. He said carelessly, Don't you know your master's skill? The beginning of the story was thrown back again, but Nanha kept on saying, Did the Lord mention the date of return? She remembers that when she came to inquire earlier, she was worried about the Lord's feelings with that woman, but she did not expect that this time it was also because of that woman. The difference is that this time she wanted to know the exact time and make good preparations so that she would never see the Lord before the Lord came back. How can I know? Don't forget that Brother Beicheng is always cold and stuffy. It's time to burn incense and worship Buddha if you can talk to him a little more, let alone so. Hua Qianliu's eyes quickly flashed something, and then he simply cut off the topic and joked. I said, Nanhe, but I heard that you seem to have a problem with Xiao and Mo Hua recently. It's just a small matter. It's hard to say. The South Crane slightly smile, on the face have no fluster. Child should know. The Lord's order, I always strictly abide by, never want to because of others and disobey others' order. The implication is that Mo Shanghua blocked her from completing the task assigned by Yin Beiqing. Flower willow eyes color from light to thick. The face used to smile, but did not reduce. In this case, I think the North Brother No will not blame. With that, he raised his hands and stretched his waist indecently. His face was a bit sleepy. It's getting late. I'm tired. I want to go back to bed. You should go back and have a good rest. If a woman doesn't have a good rest, she will be ugly. Seeing this, it was not good for Nanhe to say more. So he stood up and said, in this way, I will go back to the palace first. When she came out of Qingyuan Pavilion, the flower street outside was still prosperous, and she did not lose half a cent because of the fall of night. Today, although Hua Qianlu and Mo Shanghua didn't hear all of what Hua Qianlu and Mo Shanghua talked about, and he also heard most of it. Thinking of Yin Beiqing's maintenance of Mo's harm, her folded hands could not be controlled tightly, and the green tendons on the back of her tender hands burst, and her eyes were filled with hatred. She is not a stupid person. Think about it. Also understand that although the memorial will shirk the responsibility, but also fail to reveal anything, is to protect the flowers firmly. But the price of doing so is that the Lord will have to be criticized for his irresponsible acts, and that he will be punished for cutting first and then playing. I'm afraid he will be punished anyway. The Lord has nothing since he urinated. It's not worth the punishment if he wants to protect the flowers. What is hateful is that the Lord is willing to do so for that woman. The more he thought about it, the more he hated it. His eyes turned red. He wanted to rush into the dockyard at this moment, so that he could chop the flower and die. Bitch, I will never let you continue to live, become a stumbling block on the Lord, become her stumbling block. The next day, the border was desolate. When I looked up, I could not see half of the green trees, but only the lush. Yin Beiqing stood on a barren cliff and looked down at the secret letter in his hand. After seeing it, I will shatter the internal power of the secret letter, which will be blown with the wind, and the remaining incomplete embers will disappear in time. Thinking of the contents of the secret letter, Yin Beiqing's soared eyebrows at the temples were slightly wrinkled, and the deep and serene pupil was a bit metaphorical. Although Mo Shanghua knew his real strength, he already knew it in his heart, but when he thought of it, Hua Qianlu also sent a message to remind him, which made him feel confused. It seems that sour and astringent also seems not very happy. Is this what ordinary people call jealousy? Moling, do you know what it's like to be jealous? Thinking of this, he can't help turning around and asking seriously. Mo Ling immediately, as if by thunder split general, a face can't believe of looking at Yin North City. In front of Yin Beiqing, although he was still as usual, with a stiff cheek and no emotion on his face, his eyes, which had always been unfathomable, were obviously a little serious and confused. Lord, is it because of the princess? Such a thought. Mo Ling then calmed down for a long time. A stiff face also began to vivid. He frowned and thought for a long time. Then he said, it's probably the bottom of my heart is not happy. By the way, there's another saying that if I upset the vinegar jar, the vinegar is naturally very sour. Yin Beiqing's eyes were a little thoughtful, and his thin lips became tighter. After a long time, he said, go back to the border town. It seems that things here have to be dealt with as soon as possible. It's still in the main hall of the palace, and Jiangshi and others are all obediently sitting at the bottom, but they are not in the mood to continue the stalemate with them. She took out the Zhongfu gold seal directly and said, you can see it clearly. This is Zhongfu gold seal. Now, can I still command you? Jiangshi looked at the gold seal in the hand of Mo Shanghua and said, how can you have this? Shouldn't it be in the hand of Mrs. Nan? Of course, the Lord has foresight. He wrote me a letter and asked me to give it to Mrs. Nan. Then he took the gold seal back. The flower head on the street did not lift her mouth. The gold seal in her hand was playing with her white and slender fingers, as if it was just a small object. When Jiang Shimi's head started to wrinkle again, his face was discontented. Mrs. Nan is so soft and easy to cheat. Who knows if your letter is true or not? Mo Shanghua raised her head and said in a deep voice, whether it's true or false, how can you be a man outside the house to talk about it? Jiang Shi's face suddenly turned blue. He felt that his old face couldn't hang up. But after a long time, he couldn't say a word. His face became more and more ugly. Mo Shanghua doesn't put his iron blue face in his eyes at all. Seeing that he can't speak, he simply receives the gold seal, and his face is slightly right. Now that I am in charge of the palace again, I have to explain some things. I've read the previous books of all of you, and you know how many loopholes there are. Now, the people in charge of Chiang Kai-shek are very critical of me. They slander me behind my back, but they also oppose me many times and refuse to discipline me. In this case, you can all leave your posts and go back to your hometown. After a pause, her eyes swept over Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi, who had a good relationship with Jiang Shi. I order you to clean up everything in one day and leave quickly. Jiang Shi rubbed and stood for a while, with a black face asked, You are a woman who lives in a deep house. What qualifications do you have to directly withdraw from our posts? That is to say, you have to withdraw. It should be ordered by the Lord himself. Manager Jiang is right. What's more, we've already made up for those missing accounts. Why don't you bite them? Just because I am the princess of the prince and the hostess of Yuzhou, even the people of Yuzhou have to listen to me, not to mention you. The beauty of flowers on the street suddenly chills. It's clear that sitting there, the whole person's temperament is just like a king on the top, overlooking the small people under the stage. You fart, you are clearly is a random order revenge. Wang Guanshi was blocked and could not say a word. On the contrary, it was Jiang Shi. His face turned red, but he still argued angrily. Mo Shanghua suddenly raised her eyes, and her eyes were as cold as the front. Even if I take revenge, how can I? This sentence made Jiang Shi completely stunned, his face green and white, more and more ugly, as if he had swallowed some filthy things and could not spit out or swallow them. Come on, take them all down. The flower eyes on the street were a bit impatient. I didn't want to argue with Jiang Shi about these useless things. As soon as the words were over, the four boys rushed in, ignoring the struggle and howling of Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi, and took Jiang Shi and Wang Guanshi and them down. It was not until the boy took people away that the house was completely quiet. The remaining two steward witnessed the means of Mo Shanghua just now. At this time, they were also in danger. They wished they could not get up and run away immediately. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept away from the remaining two people, then settled on one of them and walked towards the man with gentle steps. The man saw the flowers on the street stop in front of her and felt like a needle. Zhang Guanshi dash. Sure enough, the next second Murakami's peaceful and clear voice began to ring. Zhang, he was more and more nervous. Unexpectedly, things were not what he had imagined. The flower on the street was smiling at him and said, Now the shops under the control of Jiang Shi have no jurisdiction. Would you like to work harder? At the same time, Zhang he felt relieved, and he could not believe it. It took him a long time to recover from the shocking news. He quickly got up and knelt down. I'm very honored. Thank you for your advice. Get up, please. Mo Shanghua gave Zhang He a hand, and his attitude was totally different from that of Zhang He before. I know you're not the same as Jiang Shi and others. I hope you can do well in the future and don't let me down. After a pause, she said, By the way, the shop in charge of Wang has not been under the jurisdiction of anyone. I don't know if Zhang can recommend it to someone else. One side of the steward from the beginning of the Schadenfreude, and then to envy in today's can't help but keep stretching his neck, want Zhang He to recommend himself. After all, riding is a piece of fat, no matter who can do it. Zhang He was appreciated by Mo Shanghua and felt grateful. Seeing her asking, he immediately lowered his head to think about it seriously. After a long time, he said, "The pawnbroker under the slave is very smart. If the princess doesn't dislike it, the slave will call him here. Don't look at it. I'm sure I can rest assured of the person recommended by Manager Zhang." Mo Shanghua shakes her head, and her eyes are full of trust. In this way, tomorrow you will directly take that gentleman to take over, and you won't have to come back to me again when you are taught by Haoxing. In this way, she not only recruited talents for herself, but also made Zhang He a friend of this person. This person will be grateful and will be of better use in the future. Zhang, he was also a wise man. He knelt down and wrote a big gift to the flowers on the street. He said, "Thank you for your kindness." Every word is solemn and rigorous. Mo Shanghua nodded and lifted him up. His eyes fell on another steward, and his voice was a little deep. "Steward Jiang and Steward Wang disappointed me. I hope you can learn from them and don't have to have another accident." Yes, yes. The former is trembling and nervous, while the latter is not nervous at all, but respectful. Today's days are approaching summer day by day. Today's sunny weather has also produced some heat. Mo Shanghua stayed away from the house for a day. After having dinner in the evening, she strolled around the house and sat down in the pavilion. She played with a shallow cup of tea. Seeing that she seemed a little bored, Qinya came over and said, "Princess, I heard that Manager Jiang and Manager Wang are still in trouble now. And then they go to the runway shop and look like shrews." The flowers on the street were in high spirits, and their eyebrows were slightly raised. How did Johnny deal with it? In fact, she had already noticed that picture. She thought that even if he was a little weak, he should not even be able to deal with Jiang Shi. If you really can't clean up, you really don't need to continue to do this job. It's not easy for Zhang to be bullied. At first, he just threw people out. Later, he closed the shop and stopped doing business. He couldn't even get in. Jiang was so angry that he couldn't do anything more. When Qinya said that, she couldn't help laughing. Her eyes and eyebrows were very lovely. He can't do business even if he makes trouble. It's a good way for Zhang He to do business. Mo Shanghua nodded, but the color of her eyes was still as plain as water. After a pause, she suddenly put down the cup in her hand and said, "Has the memorial been sent out? I forgot to ask, how long will it take to get to the Imperial City?" As Qinya tilted her head and thought about it, she said, "The Imperial City is far away from Yuzhou. Although it's fast, it can't be delivered in 3 or 2 days, or at least 10 days. However, I heard that the Emperor sympathizes with the Lord, and the memorial is always given as soon as March. The flowers on the street are calm and clear, and there's a kind of thoughtful color in their eyes. 3 months is enough to do a lot of things. It seems that we can make good use of this time in the future. Speaking of this, I can't help thinking of Yin Beicheng. My first reaction is, when will this guy come back?" Qinya seems to see her thoughts. A face of gossip came together. "Princess, what are you thinking?" "But I miss the Lord." No, the flower eyes on the street flashed, and the complexion was rare and unnatural, as if for fear of being found. "Is the princess shy?" Qinya covered her mouth with a smile, and her eyes were full of fun. "This face is red, but she still has a hard mouth. Once upon a time, I heard that only a little girl would be like this. I didn't expect that such a serious person as the princess would be like this. It's really interesting." What she said was intended to make fun of him. Unexpectedly, he unconsciously touched his cheek. When he reacted, he could not help but feel a little embarrassed and annoyed. He quickly turned around. Qinya, who was smiling and trembling behind her, suddenly hissed, calmed down, and saluted silently. Mo Shanghua only felt that there was no sound behind her, so she turned around again. Just turning around, I saw a man in a blue shirt behind her. The man had a medicine box on his back. He looked at her with a lot of weight. His eyebrows were pretty and elegant, and his body was full of bookish spirit. As soon as he saw the flower on the street turning around, he bent over and saluted. Princess. Dr. Liu. Mo Shanghua looked up and down for a while, and then nodded. Dr. Liu doesn't have to be polite. Sit down. Liu Zheng smiled slightly, also not polite, the medicine box solution next, then sat down in front of the flower on the street. I don't know how the princess has been. Why don't I feel the pulse for the princess? The flower on the street smiles politely at him and politely refuses. I'm always healthy. Dr. Liu doesn't have to worry about it. After a pause, she glanced at the medicine box on Liu Zheng's back and said, Dr. Liu, this time, it's not like I asked for a safe pulse. But I forgot for a moment that the princess's medical skills were beyond the reach of others. How could her body be in trouble? Liu Zheng's lips smile, slightly convergence. Quite some self-mockery means, however, I this time is just passing by. What are you going to do? The flowers on the street picked up a sentence. Speaking of this, Liu Zheng frowned slightly and said, Yunji of Beiyuan is suffering from madness now. She used to wait on her maid to beg me. When I got free, I wanted to have a look first. When did she go mad? Sayamo, Shengla, also just no cloud, G crazy, just also haven't had time to inquire, see a ready-made person of the moment, then casually asked a sentence. Liu Zheng thought for a moment. Fong said, I'm not very clear either. I just heard that it seems that I went crazy after entering Beiyuan, and the specific reason is not very clear. The flowers on the street nodded slightly, and the color of thinking crossed their eyes. Shueji is vicious and jealous by nature. Her psychology should not be so fragile. Could someone have done something intentionally? Well, is it related to Pingji? Pingji has always been uneasy recently. If she can hold on to him, she will not be in trouble. Thinking about this, Mo Shanghua raised her head again. I've never been in contact with a madman before, and I also want to see him. Can Dr. Liu take me with me? Don't want a Liu Zheng eyebrow head, but twist of more tight. The identity of the princess, if go of words, afraid is not suitable. Mo Shanghua saw clearly the hesitation in his eyes, so he asked directly, Liu Yui has something to say. Liu Zheng didn't expect that Mo Shanghua would see through him so soon. He couldn't help but smile and ponder for a moment. He just said, there are so many rumors in the house now. They all relate Yun Ji's madness to the princess. If you go again, you may get more criticism. But there are some rumors. It doesn't matter. But did not think the flower face on the street half of the unhappy color did not have a completely indifferent appearance since I entered the house. The rumors about me have never stopped. But so what? As long as I understand in my heart, people around me understand that those are just rumors, not facts. Liu Zheng didn't seem to think that Waxinci was so clear. He was shocked and admired. He has always believed that gossip is the most vulnerable thing to kill in the invisible. And the woman in front of her carries so many rumors in her body, but she is still free and easy to live, which shows how strong her heart should be. After a long time, he took the corner of his lip and began to smile, as elegant as pine and bamboo. Liu Zheng admired the princess for her bearing. In that case, Liu Zheng had nothing to say. This time, he didn't use Wei Chen to claim that, but Mo Shanghua was always slow in this aspect, so he didn't notice. He nodded and stood up. Please, Dr. Liu first. Liu Zheng's sitting place was also outside the pavilion near the steps. Seeing this, he did not refuse. He also nodded and carried the medicine box first. Beiyuan has been abandoned for a long time. Yunji has been locked in because of her big mistake, so no one has been sent to repair it. Today's Beiyuan is still dilapidated and overgrown. But when I entered the hospital, it was obvious that the weeds in the hospital had been slightly pruned, which was much less than that outside. Compared with the time, Yunji had already lost her former glory and beauty. She was dressed in coarse linen, and her long hair was scattered. Now, her face is waxy yellow. Her eyes are dull, standing in the yard, holding a weed in both hands. I don't know what she is thinking. Ma'am, it will be dark in a moment. It's cold at night. Please come in. Several people haven't entered the door yet, then see inside of the wing room in a hurry to rush out a maidservant, while saying, at the same time toward Cloud G walked. That Cloud G dull eyes this just move, a turn Mao, but toward the door of a Mo, Shaw, etc. saw to come over. Ah, here comes the slut. Here comes the slut just now. Yun Jitun, who was in a stable mood, just like seeing ghosts, screamed and ran into the house. I'm crazy and I'm a slut. It's true that I don't change my nature. Chinya's face suddenly sank a few minutes. Can't help but hum, disgruntled spat a sentence. The maid then saw Mo Shanghua and others. She looked at the house anxiously, then ran to them and saluted. I see the princess, the imperial Dr. Lu, and the lady. She's been so crazy all the time. I hope the princess will forgive me. No harm. This matter did not cause Mo Shanghua's anger. She only said faintly, we are here to see your wife. Take us in. Yunji and Mo Shanghua used to be mortal enemies, but the maid still had some worries and hesitated. The princess is just here to observe. This girl, please show me the way quickly. I will go to another place for consultation later. Time is running out. Seeing this, Lu Zheng took the initiative to come forward and explain it carefully. The maid nodded, so please. With that, he gave way to the road and stood aside to lead the way. To spend a few people into the house, they see Cloud G already cage a thin quilt, hiding in the quilt shivering. Lu Zheng glanced at the maidservant and said with a smile, please, girl. Seeing that Lu Zheng was so elegant and respectful, the maid nodded her head like garlic and went forward to calm her. Mo Shanghua knows that she is afraid that Yunji will be excited for a while, so she retreats and stands behind Lu Zheng. With the comfort of her maid, Yunji gradually calms down. Like a obedient child, she reaches out her hand and looks at Lu Zhengjunmai's cheek and laughs. Lu Zheng is completely unaffected and concentrates on feeling for Yunji. For a long time, his brow was tightly wrinkled again. There seemed to be confusion in his eyes, and he felt a headache because of the complexity of his illness. Ow! The flower on the street saw this and asked softly. Lu Zheng drew back his hand and stood up opposite to Mo Shanghua. Her pulse is normal. She can't see any major stimulation, and there is no sign of drug poisoning. But the more difficult it is to treat. In fact, everyone knows that this kind of madness can't be cured. At most, they just use drugs to suppress the patients when they are emotional. However, the purpose of Mo Shanghua is not to cure Yunji. So she stepped forward and said, let me have a look. She just stepped forward, and soon after Yunji recovered, she became excited again. She screamed in horror and even was thrown down several times. Lu Zheng and the maidservant joined forces to hold the person down. Seeing this, the maid knelt down directly in front of the flower in the street and cried, Princess, please don't stimulate my wife anymore. Please move. Mo Shanghua takes a look at Yunji. She is still excited. After thinking about it, she knows that there are so many people at this time. Even if she can diagnose, it's not easy to perform. So she turns around and goes back. Chinya keeps up with her. Just out of the North Court, not long ago, Lu Zheng ran after her, panting with her side. Crazy people are like this. In fact, they are like children. The princess must not care. I don't think so. Dr. Lu can rest assured. Mo Shanghua shook his head, eyes color as usual, no waves. Lu Zheng sees this. In the heart, this just small relief, one breath. Since so, Micro-Minister also wants to go out the mansion to treat for others, then leave temporarily. Dr. Lu walks slowly. Flowers on the street politely open their mouth and watched Lu Zheng go away, until Lu Zheng's figure gradually disappeared in front of him. The pace at his feet suddenly gave him a meal. Chinya, let's go back. Say, then take the lead to turn around, walk toward the north garden. Chinya's face is not clear, so she follows Mo Shanghua. She keeps asking, but Mo Shanghua doesn't explain much. She just lets her guard at the door and enters the inner room by herself. Yunji in the inner room is not as crazy as she was just now, but she's still like a child, holding the thin quilt wrapped around her body and crying without image. And that maidservant at this time is back to Mo Shanghua, efforts to coax more than crying Cloud G. Mo Shanghua stealthily sweeps behind the maid. Without waiting for Yunji to scream, she suddenly raises her hand and knocks her out. Yunji screamed again, shivering, holding the quilt, and shrinking towards the corner of the bed. Her eyes were like frightened animals, full of tears and fear, as if the flowers on the street were some kind of monsters that eat people and don't spit bones. Mo Shanghua stares at Yunji for a while. Suddenly she smiles like Yunji was twisted and vicious before, and her red lips start to look bad. Yunji, I'm the princess. How come you don't know me? Or are you afraid of me at all, and you don't even dare to brag in front of me? The color of fear in Yunji's eyes became more and more intense with the words of flowers on the street. The tears that had just been scared to stop suddenly came out again. I dare not. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. Help, help. That pair of eyes full of fear has always been turbid and listless. A moment of clear color has not flashed. The flower on the road sees shape, simply cold next face. The facial expressionless sat down beside the bed. Leave Cloud G's position closer some. I don't want to kill you, but you always want my life. What should I do? She moves. Cloud G body also violently shakes, but can't retreat, cry more loud, as if at any time will cry to death in the past. If you pretend, with Yunji's poor acting skills, I'm afraid you can't do it at all. At this point, Mo Shanghua just barely confirms it, and then he knocks Yunji in a hurry, and the noisy cry stops. Mo Shanghua's face regained its usual calm and pulled Yunji's body toward her direction. Then she pulled her wrist and went forward to take pulse. A moment later, she stopped and took a look at Yunji's eyelids. Then she turned her head to the side and looked at it carefully. The result is the same as Lu Zheng. However, she and Lu Zheng have different views on whether they have been stimulated or not. She thinks that whether she is really stimulated or not may not be diagnosed. If you want to know, you need to have a long time of treatment and contact. After that, she got up again and looked at the room again. However, she saw that there was nothing useful in the room except some old furniture, and she could not find any clues, so she went back to the house. Until dinner, she was still thinking about the details of the matter. Chinya, you have always been very clear about the affairs in the mansion. Who has visited Yunji when she entered Beiyuan? The princess asked what she was doing. Are you really going to give her a good treatment? As soon as Chinya thought of what happened in Beiyuan today, she was not angry with the flowers on the street, and her face was not good. Unexpectedly, Mo Shanghua suddenly put down his chopsticks and said, "You are so impulsive and irritable. What can you do in the future?" Chinya wrongly looked at the flowers on the street. After thinking for a long time, she said in a low and inaudible voice, "I just can't stand the anger of the princess. If the princess doesn't like it, I will change it." Although the voice is small, but a word does not fall into the ear of Mo Shanghua. Her heart is touched and helpless. Recalled a pretty face, deep voice enunciation. In the future must not be so impetuous. If not, put down everything on hand, have a good rest for 2 days, wait for sober back to wait. Chinya changed her face and knelt down. I know I'm wrong. I won't dare to commit it in the future. Just know your mistake. Get up. And Mo Shanghua just nodded, such as the front face slightly astringent. I eat well, all withdraw. Yes. Chinya bowed her head and called 2 maidservants to come and took away the rest of the food on the table. And Mo Shanghua was about to turn back to her bedroom, but suddenly there was a loud noise at the door. It seemed that someone was rushing in. And Mo Shanghua steps slightly, looking back toward the noisy door. Chinya immediately came over and went out to check the situation, and then came back again, saying, "Back to the princess. Is the people in Shueji Palace crying to see you?" Shueji? Mo Shanghua frowned and thought about it for a long time. It seemed that it was the person who poisoned her as soon as she entered the mansion. I don't know what tricks she played this time. Let her in. I want to see what Shueji wants to sing. Imo Shanghua turned and sat back, light mouth. Chinya nodded and went out with a command. Soon after, a maid in a floral jacket and skirt came in. When she saw the flowers in the street, she knelt down. Imo Shanghua's eyes swept around the maidservant's body and said, "It's so late now. What's the matter with your master that he wants to send you here at this time? It's not like modern times. After dinner at this time, you can sleep in a short time." The maid sobbed and sobbed. "Back to the princess. I don't know what's the matter with my master. He's vomiting and diarrhea. Now the imperial Dr. Liu is not in the house, and the maid can't get out of the house. There's no way. I'm here to ask you." After a pause, she went to her knees and took a few steps. She looked at the flowers with a begging face. "Princess, your medical skills are excellent. Please go to save my wife. Please, I kowtow to you." Looking at the maidservant who kept kowtowing, there was no color of moving between his eyebrows and eyes. He just picked his lips and said, "Yunji's maidservant just went to cry today and asked Liu Yui to see her. You came here this evening. It's really interesting." The maidservant's face turned white after a movement. She still gritted her teeth and said, "It's just a coincidence. Princess, my wife is in an emergency. It can't be delayed," said, then choked forward to grasp the skirt of flowers on the street. Chinya quickly stepped forward to block in front of the maidservant. Light scolded, "Speak and speak, don't touch." The maid's body trembled, and she did not dare to move. Chinya retreated to one side. Imo, Shanghua, eyebrows, indifferent looking at the maid, for a long time no language, but in the brain is thinking quickly. I don't know whether it's a blessing or a curse. Maybe there's a bureau waiting for her. But if she doesn't go, the play won't go on. Most importantly, she has to see if there's anything suspicious. After thinking about this, Imo Shanghua pretended to be hesitant for a long time until the maidservant was anxious to kowtow again, and then nodded gently. "In this case, I'll go with you. Chinya, take my medicine bag." Say, silent toward Chinya sure a wink. Chinyadan came over and answered quickly. Then he went to the bedroom of Imo Shanghua. After searching, he came out with a cloth bag. "Princess, I found it." Imo Shanghua took a look at the cloth bag and nodded. "Let's go." When Imo Shanghua arrives at Shueji's house, she sees that all the maidservants in the house are anxious. Some maidservants have already started to cry. It's not Shueji who is crying, but she is afraid that what happened to Shueji will affect them. Shueji was lying on the bed, her eyes closed, and she fell asleep. Her face was as pale as paper, and her eyebrows were wrinkled subconsciously. Although the room was lit with incense, there was a faint smell of filth. Imo Shanghua didn't delay much. She glanced at Shueji's face and sat down beside the collapse. She began to feel her pulse step by step. In other words, it's acute gastroenteritis. What kind of medicine should she take to sleep now? What medicine did you give her? Imo Shanghua tucks Shueji's wrist back into the quilt and turns her head to ask her maid. As she spoke, she stood up, as if thinking about something. She walked in the room, and her eyes swept the furnishings in the room quietly. Back to the princess. The maidservants saw that the lady was uncomfortable, so they took a bowl of enchanting soup. Imo Shanghua said softly, "In that case, your wife won't have anything else to do tonight. This is the token for going out of the house. Tomorrow morning you will go directly to ask Imperial Dr. Liu to come back and have a close look." At that time, her eyes were fixed in front of the dresser for a moment, what flashed quickly in her eyes, and then she looked away. One of the corners of a blood jade bracelet was exposed in the jewelry case, half opened on the dressing table. The quality of the bracelet is excellent, and it's also very familiar. If Imo Shanghua remembers correctly, the former owner of the bracelet is Yunji. She took it out to show off for a while, and then put it back. Now it's here. It seems that Shueji, who does not fight or rob on the surface, has colluded with Yunji secretly, and she did not do it alone. The maid kept her head down and didn't notice the move of Imo Shanghua. Just because her words were in a daze, she tried to open her mouth. "Princess, don't you need to make a prescription? I think that if my wife wakes up in the middle of the night, I'm afraid she will suffer again. Mo Shanghua refused to prescribe the prescription. She only got up and said faintly, "It's just one night. It's okay to go through." And in principle, the efficacy of this ancient decoction should not be so useless, and it should not wake up in the middle of the night. Just as they were saying this, Nanhe came in and bowed to her. Then he stepped in front of her and frowned at Shueji on the couch. "I just heard that Dr. Liu is on holiday tomorrow, and I don't know what to do. I'm afraid I won't be able to come tomorrow. I think you'd better prescribe a side effect medicine for Sister Shui." She had just listened outside for a while. Naturally, she knew everything. Now she began to persuade her. The color of wariness at the bottom of the flower eyes on the street suddenly came into being. Knowing that it was not easy, he said, "Yuzhou doctors with excellent medical skills are everywhere. Without Liu Yu doctor, there are others. Why do you hold on to me?" Although she said that on the face, she always felt in her heart that if people like Nanhe really wanted to harm her, they would not have to use such a bad method. I'm afraid the princess misunderstood. South Crane is still full of worry, for the meaning between the lines and the words of Mo Shanghua just don't know this. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.